well, get us started and then you can turn it over to PRISM. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Hartford Select Board for our facilitated strategic planning session on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024 at 1:02 p.m. Our first item is actually public comment. We do have a member of the public here, so I think that ask if Dave has anything to say, just public comment to start us off.
So I saw the notice of the meeting and I thought there might be more public here than just myself.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm here is when I look at the strategic vision from 2019 and where we are today, and look at the performance of the school system and some of the challenges that we have as a town, one of the things that seems is missing is affordability, particularly as it affects the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're trying to build up the middle class, attract additional members from, that are moving here, we need ways of improving school performance. And I'm a big believer that socioeconomics is a big factor there. Mm-hmm. And so when I see the average income level in the town is going down, that's in the wrong direction. So whatever we can do strategically to affect that is my message.
Great. Yeah, there is an opportunity for us today to talk about, what we might want to add to our strategic vision. I was a little surprised in 2019 we didn't have affordability, and since that seems like it's always been, an important topic in Hartford. But
it is a little bit under equitable opportunities.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Dave Brown, primary residence in Hartford?
No, it is not. I grew up in Hartford. Dennis Brown is my brother, but I'm the guy.
Property here.
I'm the guy who moved away,
Yeah.
raised our family in Maryland, married a fog gal from up the road here.
Yeah.
And so I've been back in the town every year since I left, but we're primary residents in Maryland. We've got 70 acres up on Bliss Road in the town, and built a nice house there to retire here. We struggled because our grandkids are retiring. So back and forth and all. That's primary residence. So
Thanks very much, Dave. Okay.
I just wanted further minutes.
yeah, no.
All right. I guess we'll turn it over to PRISM.
May I just do a little housekeeping note? And Brandon did text, he's running a little late. He said he'll be here about 20 minutes, so he apologizes. There are snacks in the kitchen. Anyone is welcome to just, we're a small group today. We can just take care of ourselves as needed. The restroom is there. There's a recommendation, but recommendation not to drink the water. There is little bottled water and little fizzy waters in the fridge, plus there's some jugs of water if anyone wants to fill their water bottles. There's cream in the fridge. The Keurig coffee maker is available. There's coffee in the drawer beneath it if anyone wants to make a coffee. And internet is Project Connect, and there's no password. It's sort of not a super strong. Well, the Wi-Fi is fine.
Yeah, I'm also on West Hartford Library Guest, which seems to be working, and there's no password on that one either.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for creating snacks and drinks. Appreciate it.
We're gonna be here for a while. Thanks for coming out on your Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, we were thinking about that. I did that.
Another 5
like,
hours.
Could have been longer.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's get to it then.
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I won't mention what day it is, but thank you all for being here. So the purpose of this meeting today is to have you all think creatively about how you would like to review and update the 2019 strategic plan. So bring it forward into 2024. We are both, this is my partner, Melinda. Can I introduce you?
Hi, to those of you I know down at the end of the table, it's nice to be back. I'm guessing that you're Ida.
Yep.
Ida, I'm Melinda. It's nice to meet you. Yep, and I don't know.
John Haverstock.
John, nice to meet you. I think you just come on the last time I was here.
Great. So John is our town manager.
Awesome.
We're all grateful.
So we're here from PRISM, and a piece of what we do is to help facilitate conversation. So what we're here for is to help you guys in this process of updating the plan and make sure that everyone has a chance to speak, make their voices heard, and just get us through to hopefully a place where you can put together a new document. So just before we dive in some norms for this conversation, really, I think you guys are familiar with these from the select board meetings, but we would ask that no one delays or interrupts the discussion. We're all good at a lot of things. Very few people are good at hearing when everyone's talking at once. We'd also ask that nobody make any personal threatening remarks. All electronic devices should be silenced. If you have a point to make, please just give a wave over here. Melinda and I will both be watching. And so rather than interrupt, just flag us and we'll make sure that we got a chance to speak. And we often share this concept with groups of step up or step back. So if you're someone who feels comfortable sharing and steps into conversations a lot, please do so. We all want to hear what you have to say, and also consider giving some time for other people to share. And if you are someone who has a hard time stepping into the conversation, think about making that leap. And part of what we're here for is to make sure that you all have a chance to speak. So a part of our process is we often start with what we call a go around. Some people call it an icebreaker. So what we will do is I'll give you a prompt, and then we'll set a timer for 60 seconds. During that 60 seconds, we'd ask you to just not talk to anyone, think about the prompt, write your answer down on a piece of paper. In 60 seconds, we'll go around and share. Okay, so the prompt is, what is your favorite place in this community and why? And your 60 seconds are now. Okay. That's been 60 seconds. I will start to my right.
Mine is the town hall.
Luckily.
They don't let me go anywhere else. I spent lots of time there. It's a beautiful building. Apparently has a great history and has been fully rehabilitated. It's got a wonderful hardworking staff. And there's a playground outside, so I can be grounded in the knowledge that no matter what's going on inside the building, life goes on in the community.
Thank you. I guess.
Have a lot of favorite places, but the one that popped to mind was Kilowatt Park.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, you all are probably familiar with that. I have a passion for the park. But yeah, many reasons for that. I love that I can walk to it from my home. I love that there's just beautiful, public space alongside the river. I love, water and the natural resource that are the rivers in our community. And the fact that we have this long stretch of public land just right along the river really means a lot to me. And my dog can be off leash in a big section of it. And it's this place to have casual, friendly interactions with neighbors and members of the community. That's my favorite place.
There are a lot of good ones. Mine is pretty much just downtown White River Junction, because I'm very much personally part of the business community, and I really appreciate just sort of there's a real genuineness within the business community and the community at large, while not necessarily much diversity in terms of ethnic and racial diversity, but there is definitely a socioeconomic diversity, and it feels like there's a nice just real caring amongst neighbors and everyone. And then we'll do this. Sorry, I trailed off there.
May not be my favorite, but one of the places I do like a lot is actually the village downtown, 'cause that's where my mom it gets taken care of, and it's just a wonderful building. Great people there, you know, a very caring community, and they're very supportive. It's one of those places for a lot of people where you don't know what to do with like with an elderly relative and what's going to happen to them. And when you finally get them into a place like that, it's just a relief, you know. It's not cheap, you know, and our country doesn't have great ways to help people out a lot of the time when they're dealing with elderly relatives, but it really meant a lot to me and to my family. So, and I do enjoy going there. It's a very nice place.
Probably my favorite place. It's not one specific place, but it's all the hiking trails. But especially the hurricane forest. Although I like to find little known trails and explore them, and I used to do that when I lived in Hanover for 23 years and found all kinds of hiking trails. Now I'm exploring all the hiking trails around here. So I just like the outdoors for kind of bringing me a sense of where I'm at and where we all are at in the world. And it just kind of brings that kind of tension that we get every day down to a manageable point. So.
My favorite place, I guess, in town is, I really like, the fake covered bridge in Queechee. And the reason I like it is it just brings back a lot of history to me. My grandfather used to swim in the swimming hole down there a lot. He worked at the mill that was there. I just know a lot of history about Queechee and feel very connected to it. I feel it's safe, quiet neighborhood. So I like it.
Thank you.
So, I'm really happy to say that my favorite place in town is where I live. I grew up in suburbia with a 1/6 acre lot yard, 6 brothers and sisters, 32 kids on the block. And I've lived mostly in cities. And then I met Jim, who grew up on this land, and I mostly like it because there's almost never anyone there except us. And, you know, one of the boundaries is the King's Highway, so it's a great walk up, around and back. And sometimes we go up and look at the building lot that when we run out of money, we hope will allow us to keep eating till we're dead. We're very fond of that space. We don't want to give it to anybody just now.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
In that segue, I'm just gonna turn the AC back on if it's
Yeah.
more cold.
Does anybody have any ideas why we structure it that way? Some of you might remember.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
As Icebreaker implies, it loosens everybody up, takes down the defenses, puts people in their happy place.
Yeah. And we've heard all of your voices, and I really hope that we continue to hear each one of your voices as we continue on. One more note, the reason that we do the 60 seconds is that some folks process really fast. They just hear the prompt, they have their answer, and other people need a minute to think. So that will probably be the case in the conversation as we go forward, and that's just something to keep in mind. The other thing is that 60 seconds, when you all thought about your answer, when people started talking, we actually listened to what they had to say, which it's human nature. Usually, you know, if there wasn't that 60 seconds, someone's talking and we're already just thinking, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna respond? So hopefully this sets up a quality of listening that I hope will carry forward into the conversation ahead. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Kim for a few minutes just to talk about the process in 2019 and just the document that was generated. I've printed out copies of it for you all. It's on the second page of the packet, just right behind the agenda.
I think I'll just share that the process actually started, I think, in the end of 2018, and then it was 2019 by the time we finally adopted this document. And it essentially was a process like this where we went through and kind of asked these questions. We did that session or it was a couple sessions at the Village at White River Junction, where one of Mike's happy places. And they allowed us the use of one of their beautiful spaces, kind of overlooking the downtown. It was really cool. But we did kind of just go through and ask and answer these questions about what we thought was important in terms of goals, like aspirational goals for the town, and mostly through the lens of like, what do you want to see what do you want to see in the town in 5 years, in 10 years, in 50 years even? And we kind of looked at it through that lens of, I'm not sure why, that it was kind of insistent among some members that we create this document as like sort of aspirational, but it's, like saying that we do this stuff, like we have town unity and village pride and involved, like we have this stuff, when in fact much of it was aspirational, although some of it has been accomplished too. So I think that our goal for today is to look at what has been accomplished, what is missing, maybe something along the lines of the affordability that Mr. Brown was talking about, like, and kind of flesh out just the current and future state of these same, I don't want to say these same aspirations, but this same sort of platform of what we are hoping to do for Hartford. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Kim. Okay, so you gave us a great segue. The first stop is talking about what on the strategic vision currently do you think can come up, have we accomplished, what no longer resonates? And to talk about this, we thought we'd divide you first into small groups. See how that feels. We can keep working in small groups if that feels good, or if it doesn't, there's not too many of us, so we'll stay with 7. So how about this side of the table? And then this side of the table works together. And if you'll look at the 3rd page of the packet I printed, which I think was sent around to you, these are the items from the strategic plan ranked in the way that they were in 2019. Have highlighters, pens, cross off, mark, do whatever you need to do to talk about what might be able to come off this list. Okay, we'll give you guys 10 minutes to start talking about that. It feels like the room is quieting down.
I know.
We'll come back together.
how about, do you want to, you guys go on that end and we'll come on this end so we can sit across from each other?
Yeah, sure.
And we'll get out of the way.
Yep.
You stay right here.
Stay right there.
Mary, stand up there, maybe switch with, I got ribbon on. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's right, yeah, that'll be fine. I'll go.
Okay.
What group is I with?
Split up the groups this way, but.
What group is I with?
Oh, I kind of thought this side of the table and that side of the table, but you know what, you could do a triangle here and a.
Here comes Brandon to even out the
Oh,
numbers.
yeah.
Well, you just divide the table.
And us
Yeah.
four.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so down there and up here. That makes sense.
That's fine.
Does anybody
Anywhere-
want a
anywhere
highlighter?
there.
Anything?
Sure.
Anything? Yeah.
I love you right there.
All right.
Okay, good.
I like the block.
Give me the pink one.
What's that?
Give me the pink
Pink
one.
one.
Yeah, I'll go pink.
We're just gonna,
Why not?
was our homework.
I have no problem with my sexuality.
See
None whatsoever.
which things have been accomplished that we can strike from.
Okay, sure.
So,
I'm good.
doing this,
I don't have to hide
if
it.
we're all in one,
I'm very.
are we not,
Yeah.
not separate?
No
Okay,
shame.
I was
You-
wondering.
Pink highlight.
Yes.
I hear
That's
you.
why I'm trying people, but then we're like, why don't we just split it this way?
Right. Now, that makes total sense. Okay.
That's all.
Yes, it's good to
So-
know reclaim things.
I have no problem. I have no problem using it.
Yeah, it is.
Very
It is.
sure.
Being talked about.
I'm very sure in my mailing.
And we-
I did a bunch of zinnias.
Yeah.
Right in front of our house and it, but it
At least we
all
have
came
that
up like
little-
really,
Right,
like
exactly.
basically that color. I'm like, well, like, hope you're okay. with me finding it. Yeah, exactly. I was like, they're like.
So
All right, so
we still have to decide the future of the transfer station.
Yeah.
You
I
ready?
don't know if that's gonna.
It seemed to be in process. at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yes. Resolve downtown parking, we're working.
The new lot. Up by the, that's that increasing.
I'm sure. Where you get.
yeah, we're in
You know.
trouble on
you know,
Gate Street.
Yeah. I
Well, we
think
have it in the works.
the only problem
There is a
Bond
plan.
vote
is
in
some of
November.
the places that are building. like
It's been a long time.
Saks Avenue.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So it is.
My
in process.
daughter-in-law lives up there, it makes her life help.
More need.
Mhm.
So it's in process to fix or replace,
Not just that.
would be senior centers in process.
We've got our
It's not
architectural
all,
work
you know,
that should
it's-
come back with their feasibility
Not,
study
it's
at
gonna end up
the end of January.
private.
So then our next step would be finding money for construction down on the board.
When we put down increased system capacity downtown drainage,
So I mean, that's
I'm
still.
thinking that stormwater system,
Yeah.
so we've increased the stormwater.
I believe that's right. If it's in the TIF district, no doubt Lori and Chris Folsworth
Yeah,
have been working on
We've
that.
been doing that, so we've done
Not
some,
ready to take it off. the list.
not ready, but we've done some, we've done quite a bit of it by the South Main Street, but we haven't completed it all, so I'm gonna put half of it done, half of it not.
Downtown
Regional
drainage,
solution.
that, the South Main Street project is,
Done, isn't it?
I mean, there's still
Towards
needs on
regional solution
Courier
at the
Street
lower
and
end.
stuff, but a lot of it.
I'm interested that it was put that way, because
I would just say for project.
I don't feel hopeful that maybe it's gonna happen soon, the way it was.
For what, the fourth quarter?
Work
big
toward
part now,
regional
like-
solution to adequate low-income housing.
All the roof drainage, which is.
And that's such a.
Right.
People are sleeping outside with their kids.
Yes, it still has to be done. Have you done any of
I
that?
agree it has to be done. Is there any way to escalate it up the list?
It's certainly top of mind, and whenever the regional managers get together.
We've started, we have
First topic
some.
we discuss. We
Still a bit
know
like
that
Twin Pines.
zoning
stuff,
laws are, the
Need
regs are
lots
changing
And now
to
with
be
the
more mindful of the need for housing. And I think zoning bylaws
Yeah.
are soon to be amended to incorporate state mandates along those lines. And of course, the state has also issued
But it's in
less
progress.
Yeah.
excuses for towns not to host shelters. So yeah, I think there's forward motion on those things.
And there's, I guess, Lynn, you know less about this, but in terms of, and this comes up frequently, but like, how can the select board support, does the zoning board like need anything from the select board? Do we have sway in terms of this updating process that's going on? Like,
Problem is that
Is it just-
planning and planning,
yeah,
there are specific
What will-
laws that they have to work within.
Is it
yeah.
And if they
part
can
of
work
what we're
within
trying
those
to do,
laws,
or is
if
it,
it doesn't fall within
you know,
the laws.
environmental?
Context, like,
We can't improve it. So I have to follow.
Or is
certain guidelines.
disruption used?
And then
in
there
the
are,
sense
there
of,
are
like,
things you,
startup
even if you have
where
to.
the disruption is an attempt
arbitration.
at using clean energy to disrupt fossil.
So they have to go back. There's a lot of times when I've had this happen, contractors come for the change.
It is.
Guidelines.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a question
What's
that
with
often
the
comes up.
cemetery
So,
management?
It is
and
a big need.
maybe the answer is we have zero
Yeah, it looks like.
power here,
some point.
but I want to be able to talk about, I mean, like, 'cause that is, you know, topic when during the campaign, season, especially when people are like, well, we really want you, people to prioritize housing, that's what we want to vote for. It's like,
Not in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
yeah,
Unfortunately.
Everyone else has to take.
Unfortunately, the state took a
Yeah.
lot of control.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's one of the things that I would love to see come back to the towns,
Well, I wonder
is more individual control.
has
One of the things that has
done
worked
anything or talked about.
against us, in my opinion, has worked against us. is
Right. Right.
They have created,
Twin Pines.
not Twin Pines,
Oh, two rivers.
two rivers. Sometimes it worked against us for regional planning, because their regional
And
planning
if
plan
it's something
does
that
not
is
meet,
even in the purview.
match up with what the town.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunities in the past to do things that benefit the town.
The Scott Mills.
Yeah, so,
Yes,
I mean,
right,
yeah,
right.
so I believe that's something that we need to get more
Right.
local control back. And I'm not sure how that's done. I think our
So for you
legislature.
legislators.
Or get other people on the Two Rivers panel board in the various communities that make it up to lobby for change.
And so I think.
So I would say that is.
I wonder
something
if
that
it's
definitely
been
still
like-
has to be looked at.
But in terms of the housing and planning and zoning, there's one issue about generally setting the rules and regs.
Yeah.
And there's another about them evaluating projects within those rules and regs. And the select board should not be involved in putting their finger on those boards to impact their judicial process.
We didn't have the amount of.
You cannot
water
personally
that kind of
say,
places.
as a member of the select board, I mean, as a member of the zoning board or the planning commission, you cannot personally say, I don't want to, I don't like it.
Yeah.
You
Right.
have to cite a reason
Right.
for
Has-
your.
yeah, there's regulations that's allowed, so yeah, I guess it's
What
just a matter of.
places
setting the tone.
Well, and the
Flood
regulations, you know, are, I mean,
there's-
if they are being updated, so there is some opportunities that come up to change them and make this.
What I think that we miss out
Because like if you're gonna get a permit to build something.
is understanding the guidelines that they have to work on.
Like even the permit
So
behind me.
that would be interesting to have,
Was proposed
Right.
as like.
either Lori or Joanne probably
Right.
Parking.
come before us
Yeah,
and give us
because
something to
the-
understand
Yeah.
the guidelines that they're forced to work underneath.
Yeah. Kind of thing that it's.
That's challenged. We don't,
Yeah.
I don't completely
This is like,
understand.
this is like back there by home comfort
Yeah.
warehouse.
This is liaison for the planning board.
Gosh, you would think that you could build a garage with like, if you drill down bedrock.
When we have those.
Okay, so I think.
Wow.
For the,
Update.
like, I think we're gonna get back together and talk.
That's
more
one thing,
deeply
it's a little bit off topic, but I do
Yeah.
want to make sure we have good guidance for those, because I think, for example, the meeting we had Tuesday, it's way too long. I agree with you, it's like a death by PowerPoint situation, so it's like, that's, what that says to me, is that committees don't have clear enough guidance of what's actually useful for us to be educated on in those meetings.
This is one that.
Dana promised me 10 minutes for energy.
Everything.
And 10 for the climate action.
That was very.
But like, we don't need to hear everything you're doing, we really need to hear the three most important things, the select board has any opinion to, you know, like.
We could read the rest.
I was
Right,
so
I can't
relieved that I had a conflict Tuesday when I
The
heard.
meeting
that.
was very brutal.
I'm sorry I said that.
And then he called out the left.
That's why I said what I did about the death by PowerPoint.
No, I know.
And it
Yeah.
seems like it's just going on and on and on.
Blame them.
Maybe
I don't
John.
blame them, they're just trying to do their best, they don't really have
And
the
they
guidance.
limited the
Yeah.
opportunities to address not just you, but the whole
Yeah.
community about what you're doing.
Right.
But if there's something, yeah, if something that's available that people can
Yeah.
download
Mhm.
and view themselves, that's where I run into problems.
It's like, where do you want to have a
I don't
conversation
either.
with us, where do you want to have like a 10-minute thing, and then we
My
can
wife's like that.
talk.
Totally.
So we're doing.
Yeah, a little bit.
COVID also
I had
did-
good chats with
COVID
Kevin
did.
Parker. And,
Reduce the number.
I think
Right.
maybe the first order of business is to help
Yeah,
them
that's the thing too.
bring their records
Well, and when I was in an
into
ideal.
current modality, you know,
We had people.
electronically.
State talk to
A
us
lot of
about
people have told me stories about
Which makes total
maps
sense.
of each of these
They said,
reservoirs
you know, people
with the
only
plot
settling
set out on
this.
window.
Where there's other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if she- yeah.
So.
That was-
That story
Christian Cemetery.
That's really just kind of shocking to me. And so Ken and I are thinking that maybe there's a way
Do
we can offer up a service, maybe we find the grants to fund it, where we hire on.
Yeah, yeah.
Who goes to all 5 active cemeteries, right, puts commonly administratable spreadsheet. The records, understandable because.
Yeah, I know.
The trend is that at some point, the
Everything.
town will inherit these.
But I see that.
The boards.
There's, we have 2 minutes left, but it sounds like everyone's still talking. Would you like another 5?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We're right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
They're aging out and they need the help.
It is.
So maybe let's help them bring order from their chaos.
So 10 years ago, we got involved with preaching. We got all the records from Mary and my assistant put them into a spreadsheet and it didn't make sense.
Okay.
There were so many gaps. I mean, that's the thing you have to be ready for. And it just bothered me that 10 years later, we still don't have them
Right.
in the
We
town.
started a homelessness.
So-
And as much as Lori
Like we
is
did in
busy,
some
I'm
states.
sure that'll end up in kind of the clerk's office. That's your first place you go when you're looking for historical information.
That's
I
right.
don't know if it'll ever be zero homelessness.
Needs attention.
Yes.
I would love to see get a cemetery.
Here's
Right.
I think that's a role that needs to be filled and to take on a task
I don't know
of
where.
Yeah.
compromising.
You know,
Those are all
Filing all the records.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm just thinking of something where
The
at some point in time,
NPR did a
we can
report.
be
the other
looking
day
at somebody
about
coming in and
the
saying, it's yours.
number
Right.
of
Oh, no.
When the town has,
deaths
yes, the town has that responsibility.
So for example,
I'm
at the
guessing
main cemetery where Ken Parker works, there's talk that they need to do a new
And anyway, there's a
road
bunch of different
access.
speculations.
So we
on the
put them in touch with Jeremy to at least help
sorts of
them
why that's
develop an
happening.
RFP for
Right.
their paving,
So,
because one day we'll inherit that road, so why wouldn't we help them get good?
It's there, it's,
get a
there's
good
so
road?
many, like, there's just organizations to be
So he's
supportive
put-
that help
he's
and
put
mental
some
health
money
and
aside, so
well-being
good for
of
him.
folks that.
Yeah.
They spent $70,000 on road. That's why I say that if we had someone that could oversee our cemetery,
Yeah.
and roll them cemetery.
Yeah.
Stormwater wastewater.
Put a pin in that,
the
because
tip-
I'm gonna advocate
the-
it on the budget process
Improve that, but
for a
in
facilities manager.
like the DPW with their new leadership, like, you
Right.
know, yeah, like working on.
Yes, you did. By the way, good news, VLCT has extended our insurance for another year,
Oh,
as they have for others in our similar situation.
Right. I don't know anything about it.
For clean energy
I'm not even sure what that means.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Rebooting the downtown.
Was Kim the only one who was
Yeah.
involved with
No,
letting
yeah.
us?
And
No, Mike wasn't either.
And Mike?
I was set in for this, but as a individual.
But
that's just in there.
Analysis,
Yeah.
it kind of sounds like what DPW would do with
Still
FEMA, right?
huge.
Identifying hazards. and-
I think that has to do with the 100-year plan.
I know where it is in Quincy.
Yeah,
Um,
100-year plan, culverts and stuff like that. One of the things that I was asking about, the culvert that they wrote, they're
Marketing
putting in.
plan for years
The
now.
new
Oh, no.
culvert, they put it, yeah.
So
I don't think
maybe-
I don't think they build a culvert large enough to accommodate.
And
what they get.
actual, like, make happen.
Yeah.
They got us 5 feet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Unless,
three
like,
times.
You know what they did when they renovated the building?
Contracts
They would make them
with
put the electric sockets
Right,
right
right.
higher.
Right.
And so that was why we had to draw walls out. It was too.
But that's.
Oh,
you know,
no, you're
not
down
the
at
project
50
that's
Green.
tied into
Yeah,
the-
yeah, my
Yeah.
office.
you
Yeah.
promote
So that's a question mark for me. I don't know what the.
Yeah.
criticality
Right,
is.
There's a lot of other issues.
Because part of a marketing plan
It's
is.
a setup for town manager too. so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
right.
And that's like.
Towns and villages.
Demographic, too, right? Yeah, the town too.
Yeah, again, I wonder
Well,
what
that's
generated
what,
that particular issue.
Brings us
Is
to.
that
Well,
another Irene
I think
thing?
it's an Irene thing, yeah. I think it's an
Certainly
Irene.
that's fire and.
Yeah.
Too bad you talked about it before last year.
You didn't take your new Americans.
Planning.
I don't
I mean, I think this is
there's a
part of
problem
the
with
beginning
that.
stages of the community safety review.
Right.
Which,
Was
I
it
don't
a
disagree
problem
with.
or was it to encourage people?
Of it being,
No,
it's like
Well, maybe
Robust
this is
rules.
before or after the WHO.
proposals
Who?
from
Yeah.
consultants.
Maybe this
I
resulted
think what's
in that.
resulted, yeah, I think it should be taken off the table.
Yeah, yeah.
You're welcoming everybody.
I think we've got, we're what?
Welcoming everybody.
Welcome.
You feel like we're welcoming.
Folks.
I think we're doing
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably
Yeah.
very hard,
Yeah.
harder and harder for people to
What's
find a place to
going on.
live, so that's, but
So I
that's
think
not.
that's been.
Yeah.
been
Well,
well
They're
done.
Native Americans,
That's-
it's
that
just
has
what we do
nothing to do
Hartford
with-
residents, yeah.
Wawa.
I'm not sure. I'm not
All right,
sure.
that's another question.
Like playground, honestly,
I mean, that's.
Select board.
Public walkways, that was.
Yeah.
I think that whenever we get grant funding
And the pool.
DPW these
like,
days from
looking
the
at
state and
ways to use them.
elsewhere, that's what job one.
Yeah, it's priority for me.
It's always
Part of
required.
his capital.
So again, it's another in process thing.
Real cost short, so this was. Jim
Look for an
was like
effective zero
very
homelessness.
concerned about what.
That is a
stored
issue
in
because
the
we
cars.
keep getting.
Oh, yeah, that just sit there, yeah.
That just sit there.
As a result of
and it passes
programs.
through the
that-
town.
So I don't believe we'll be able to ever see a zero homelessness.
Flammable.
In the state capital, just a few days ago, there was a collection of town managers asking, demanding that the
They
state
got
do
stuck in the
more.
harbor.
This was all the motel.
That's like.
Yeah, they're gonna close the motels and then just, we're gonna be on a large percentage anyway. And where's this resources to help the towns deal with it?
Someone who lives.
For now, what we're
across
doing
from
with
one
is
of the rail
we
yards,
deal with it from
road
public
man,
health, through the health
6 months
officer.
ago.
We deal with
And,
it
John and I
from
found
police
some
outreach
information for
to
her.
make sure that these
but
folks
I'm
know
not
what's
sure
available to them in terms
John
of
is
services,
okay.
because they work
Yeah.
closely with
Yeah.
places like the
So like,
Haven
I'm
and
gonna keep
others. And
working
then
on
sometimes.
finding information for this.
There's a
It's really, and then I'll like
if
update everyone.
they're squatting on
That's good.
private property or any structure. That's
Yeah, yeah.
So those are the three enablements that.
Well, I mean,
Work now.
like,
So we're
part of it
working
is like
towards reducing.
making sure that federal
To
regulations
us, for us to say
on railroads
0%
are
license.
enforced here.
It
Like,
is
we can
unrealistic.
check
You're
in.
the town that
That's-
offers services.
sometimes they're
is
not.
Gonna be a reason for folks to come, and so I think it.
Like,
it could be
Nothing's good
great as
unless
like
it's
a
enforced and
humane approach to
regulations.
homeless
Like,
individuals
it
or
makes
something.
sense to
decreasing-
Yeah.
throw a little
decreasing
bit of money toward
Work towards
checking that
Yeah,
regulation.
like 0% is.
Consider that how dangerous it could be.
And that's our breakfast discussion.
Yeah.
What percentage is
Then
home?
handle 3 to 5, 7 days.
Addiction,
Group meeting
mental
presence
illness.
on-
And some people who just choose not to live in the normal parameters.
That's the problem is you have people that want to be home. They choose that.
We're about to sell a house that I'm getting ridiculous offers on because they want to Airbnb. My son was saying.
If we have every housing stock, how do we put it?
I mean,
that
right, there's
the
like
housing to work,
exact-
and maybe that's
how
where
you regulate
Brandon's gonna
that.
comes in terms of a rental industry.
We're gonna
At least
head around.
is some slow way to turn up the temperature
What gives us
on the
here,
empty
like,
house
just,
syndrome. That maybe we're gonna be regulating
no,
some minimum.
Just need to see the
former
town get
environmental
into the housing business.
sustainability.
I mean, if the town gets into the housing business.
He now works for like
Me and
North Solar. Anyway,
Property rights.
Yeah, you're talking
it's like when he
we're
did a
talking about
project,
people.
for example, like,
You know, I mean.
gonna put
I
heat
can't
pumps
believe
in
that.
the
Man's house.
public safety building.
Yeah.
He would
What if he's
literally
not living
like
in it?
map out measurements.
It's a little castle.
How much
No.
is that?
Second home, this castle.
Yeah.
You don't get to have a
Leo
second
Corwin
castle.
there.
The people are living on the street.
And he
I'm
was-
sorry.
How do you force
Enumerate.
someone
Yeah.
to give up their
How
second home
he
and
paid for
turn it
his own
into?
salary by.
You make it
I'm not
less
saying you do, I'm just, right.
You regulate it and you do for the things they have to do.
I would love
And
to
you
see
tax it.
more of
And
that, like just
maybe
like
it's not
actual,
such a good
not
idea.
that
So it's
Dana
set
has
the
to
tax rate
justify
for second
his
home.
paying for his position, but that like.
Why not?
How
We're
it works
taxing
out.
the revenue
States do that
from
already, right? Yeah.
With
Yeah.
There's many places.
electric mower.
That's right.
Yeah.
Don't have the help set
Um,
I'd like to see what.
We're already there.
That's what home.
Planning. It's too late to put the genie back in the bottle.
That's the one in Dartmouth, they do all the
Different tax rates.
stuff. I know that they actually.
That'd be a hard sell, I think. Some people.
I mean, but in terms of this item, I think we could say work towards addressing, I mean, it's broad, but addressing the root causes of homelessness.
Yeah.
And-
I like to be asked,
Yeah.
Dana. I bet he's got a lot of this material, it's just, we have to have an Excel spreadsheet. Given us.
I like to sound this dashboard.
Right.
I think that's ongoing, number 15
That's
with
one we could.
BPW.
Yes.
Stay there too.
They've already separated a lot of stormwater from.
Do you know about all the fires that came down on,
Right. And what-
Manage the.
Is that
Yeah,
the
if
one
that, if I was up, if that was Red Ridge Road or something.
Red Barn.
Red Barn, which was the old
That
house.
was my original route here, I had to turn
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, so do we.
Yeah.
I
Terrible
thought, I
signage.
think they were.
It didn't say road closed or anything.
No.
Why did you go that way?
Because I was actually coming from Addison into town, and that's what took me that
And they
way.
did add a.
We were coming back from, Hartford.
race thing at the.
Wow, that's a weird GPS route.
What's
That's a good question.
All right.
I just got off.
I think it's
like
the-
I took the covered bridge road, your
Trans
favorite
stuff
place to be in.
Yeah, we did.
I came over from the lake and I took the Brandon Gap over and then went through
Yeah.
Bethel over the interstate.
I don't
We
think
have-
the gaps
I-
are great.
Yeah.
We
This is
digress.
This is Simon and Ellen.
Gotcha.
Just the fact that we have
We
separate
do have a
storm and
revolving
sewer
loan.
water systems,
fund.
it's incredible.
Maybe it was not, that's probably, I think it was. in place.
Which I have a hard time talking.
Well, I
about
think some of
next to
it's
that
being worked on, like I know, again, at Lyman Point Park, I know that, Scott.
So what are
Gotten a group together.
What kind of incentives do
invasives
we have?
As
Mhm.
much
Again,
of
I'm
as
aware of this,
they
we've
can,
all
they've also
zone
slanted
funded.
it.
It's true, yeah.
But then,
And
then,
they put in like a, what is
That's the only-
that
yeah,
called, like
that's
a
what we
rain
have.
garden
Yeah.
or something?
But
I don't know what it's called, to be honest
That
with
hasn't
you.
been an incentive.
But then, like,
It's been an
Then like when we went over to the David Chang
Giving
area, that's being terribly
Yeah.
eroded, but
I
what
personally
we're
think
talking
that
about.
the incentive
and
we
Robin
should
said,
And it used to be
He said,
thriving
you know,
store.
trying to
There's a baker
plant
up,
things.
there's
there's that woman who sells.
It's a waste.
We should
of
have-
money. Rivers is gonna go where your ship's going. And he said, we have to realize that, and, you know, not
When we talk
try
about
and
things
bring
like
in
tax,
stuff and hope that it's gonna hold things
Lori
back.
tells me that.
Because we've done it for so many years,
Options
and
are
that's where.
at least limited in the
So I don't know.
Because that topic has come up with the pool.
Because this
And
was
she says,
the
well,
RPG.
there's reasons
They
you
said,
can't
oh,
do that.
we'll
I
put
don't know
the
why
money
that's where
towards
it's.
I would love to see us do like a 40% reduction.
You know, we looked at it,
Business
and
come in.
At least, yeah, at least for maybe.
One
8 years.
year, fishing holes.
3 years or something.
That he'd been doing.
How do you feel like-
Infrastructure.
Well, actually, that's mine, the whole 1% sales tax. I know there's some small business owners that maybe were against that because it was gonna cut into their bottom line.
Oh, Hartford.
And I know we didn't like market it well enough, so in a way that it's to raise our.
Where would it go?
Lower our
So,
property taxes like on if we have another
The.
source, so it's a matter of like.
Like where
I don't
the.
know, that seems like an incentive that we got voted down,
It was so
Like on the east side of.
Yeah.
The town hall.
I don't think
Yeah,
it's
so like if you're looking
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
in the right
just always
manner.
thought
Right.
Like
But if
where
we
the
were doing-
business street.
but if we were
Like
doing
that
businesses
side.
They
Came
were
in
like a
with the
third
business
owned
down,
since I lived here.
a 40% reduction in taxes.
You know where we're at?
Years. That'd be a huge.
They were
benefit.
going over Nut Lane, like by the.
And
Oh, yeah,
how
yeah.
would that affect how much we have to
Oh,
tax
okay.
individual property owners? You know,
So,
like.
anyway, I.
Unfortunately, everybody else.
We haven't even gone halfway, and we're probably right about to run out of time.
I don't know, something I want to learn more about.
Yeah.
What are the incentives that we have, and
Right.
what could we do?
Because I don't ever.
Yeah.
Branding and marketing and cross promoting.
That was the whole objective of
Might be in the
the
back.
sister city thing that we had started, was to be able.
Well,
to
there
put
was
them
a
in.
parking lot.
I got to go to Morocco last night.
Just.
JSCL, and it's, I don't.
But why does having a relationship?
Right.
with French Village
Yeah, right.
help us?
That's the problem, is unfortunately, I haven't.
If that was gonna be
Okay.
What our
ADA.
initial thought was, so that's something we really need to address.
25.
We need to really address.
Sister city for.
Well, we got the backside still.
To market, we have the, you know.
Another 10?
You know, but our sister, they're all the years.
How are you guys?
Right.
Bottom of the first page.
What's that?
Bottom of the first page.
What? How'd you get that fast?
We still have a couple left to go. We're at 25. Remember?
Yeah, and then.
They're
after
like
that,
way ahead of us here.
there's a railroad crossing to the left.
Well, it's not a race.
To work. Making an executive decision to keep us.
It's
As possible. At least until.
Increased communication.
Collaboration, I think, our numbers.
Yeah.
Well, no, we did try.
Our town manager is now on board.
Yeah, now it's-
Oh, good work.
Yeah.
Number 26.
So when I went to St. Johnsbury, they had this beautiful map of all of the stuff.
Yeah.
And there is one of White River too, but maybe to make it updated, I don't know.
All right, I'm not sure about 18, is this general anxiety about three favorite residents or always upset about
Okay.
peer
Exactly.
factors?
Buzzwords or.
Probably back in 2018.
I think it's more than those.
Yeah.
I don't know what this means.
And I think it's tied to drug
And,
addiction.
Is that like AI?
I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah.
people shoot each other all the time, you know, and you just don't leave them alone, but
Yeah.
it's getting things. I got used to not having
We,
that work.
2 years in a row, the flying.
There are things.
And then here-
We do stuff. I mean,
And so how do you address that if that's what it is?
Presentation from the police department, you know, thing I know.
Under the parade.
I've been
right?
talking with Chief Sheldon, I'm
Yeah,
saying, look,
make sure you
I
have
know that
something.
you're busy staffing up, et cetera.
Local
But there's a
purchasing.
growing clamor for the police
I
department.
mean, in the
to kind of
purchasing policy
show
allows
us
us to pay
what
a little more
plan is
for
going to be.
purchasing.
Oh, right.
Or at least tell us when you're going to do so.
That isn't
So that people know that something's in the
Yes,
works.
this one.
So that's, I've been talking with them recently about that.
Yeah, we want, I think we should establish
Okay,
a
19.
consensus among the board if we do want.
Oh, right, yeah.
I think
Right.
the rec department is working on that, right?
Anyway.
Yeah, they're talking about making it energy efficient and maybe more year round
Something all passed last.
Yeah.
With ice or other activities?
with other activities.
Yeah.
I mean, what about like a indoor?
I mean, this is, yeah.
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 Fast paced.
Number 20, this was focused
Even when
on
I'm
the
not
fact
on the
that
board
we
anymore, I
had
shouldn't keep
a
doing
bunch of propane cars.
Yeah.
Storing down
I'll help.
railroad, railroad ground, that was very, enough each tire burn.
I agree.
I mean,
They have a
It's funny
huge
because
But didn't we say
offloading
recently
site down there.
that, or maybe
The
because we
farmers
tried
market.
and it didn't go anywhere, there's so many farmers.
Yeah.
Then they come
Also
by my
practice.
office and bang,
Everybody
bang.
goes.
Yeah. They have a
Yeah.
big storage tank down by.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was kind of.
I know. Oh, they do.
South Main
They
Street,
do down
back.
at,
Well, I guess it'd be Luxor down that way.
what's that little place that
Pretty
has?
big propane.
drinks,
tanks.
wine,
Is that still the case?
Yeah.
Then you can go fire, maybe,
Yeah, they
as
have-
emergency
they-
management. might
Yeah,
be.
I think that's.
Maybe,
I think we should get a report from the chief. Get a report from the chief as
Incorporated
to
with
what
like.
his
the block
plan
party
is to
or
do.
something. Like, I don't think.
I'm sure they do that.
Planning,
Right.
Because we're just about to enter into our new hazard mitigation.
That was
plan,
very
which I've
different.
heard about 10 years. Yeah, some of those prioritize what are.
Number 21, number 21 is being done.
The ones that have-
80 or 8.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So have we done one?
Well, I know people.
It's in process.
We could go halfway.
There is a,
Stab.
I mean, I think there is a way to at least solicit input. And even if we don't get enough.
Sarah
giving
tells
people the
me
opportunity
that's
to
often
put in input,
difficult to
And sometimes some really
meaningful
good ideas.
metrics. But I'm sure he's
I mean, I
been
still,
tasked with
I like
trying to
that.
do
And
something.
even if it is just like with our communication person.
Some data on it.
Yeah.
There's one like form on the website that says like, you know,
Townwide storm management.
give us your ideas and like it can have different topics, it could be budget, it could be like climate, it could be diversity, it could be like all those
Other
things,
than,
just like
again, separating
have a place.
stormwater from the sewage.
That's being done.
Right,
Sure.
right, but like a constant
So
easy
we done?
area for.
It's being done. It's working.
on the website, but
It's all
then it doesn't
left it in
get
process.
populated.
All the work that was done on South Main Street,
Think about
North
it.
Main Street,
And whenever you do new
Yeah.
projects.
Like,
the
love
phases-
on that, but-
all the phases of the downtown construction. was
My thought
separating
about that
stormwater.
is, it seems really
It's
great.
every step they make
And,
down there, Courier Street's the last
I
one
think
has
it
something
could
done.
be like,
So it's,
we put out
there's a
a
plan to get that done.
kind of poll.
Is there
on
not-
a
It's not
certain
done, but it's-
matter or issue
Right.
and say,
That's
you
it.
have a month to.
As far as down,
back with your opinion
town-wide,
on this
the
issue.
storm
Maybe
management,
we can call it a poll instead of a
That's-
survey.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
good too.
Yeah, poll, okay, you have one
the thing
month
bothers me sometimes,
to
you talk
respond.
about
And so the,
green
I
storm
think the
management.
goal would be, we send out
That's, to
mail
me, it's only areas where there's a town.
and
sewer.
say, if you want to
That's me.
sign up for these
Yeah.
polls, which will be having whatever it is, 12
You
nights
got
per
like,
year.
look how cool it's right now.
Just-
This is a private.
Just go on here and enter your email address, and then each poll will go out to everyone
Lines
via
coming off the
email.
roof, comes into the.
Yeah.
sewer
That would
system.
be cool that.
You're
like,
talking
what we
about
have,
an
and
entire
then
building.
also,
Let me ask you
like
this,
Rebecca was
because when
talking
my
about
office
session, like, we
flooded,
did
we
one
had some
mailer
of the
Right.
most
that was like
frightening looking
civic
mold
engagement
growing off of
opportunities,
everything.
and it
Right.
gives
Water.
lists all the dates for the calendar year.
That's not-
It was resilience itself.
Yes, I think it's.
It has
yeah,
website links.
it's more-
Bigger culverts.
It has website, addresses
Yeah.
for,
Water.
here's where you can find.
Water
here's where you
parks
can
or
find,
water
like,
percolates.
here's where you can
Less
submit.
less impervious surface.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of this dealt with the fact that there was, whenever we had
That
huge
mail, like, as
rains,
much as we
the
can get
underpass by
like, the text
um,
book text
Yes.
to,
railroad, what's that museum there?
Main Street.
Green Tree Museum, underpass right there, massive flooding right there.
civic engagement.
And then Courier Street, we got floods, there was, a lot of people, the water.
We are working on the food forest.
So that's all.
One at Wilder and one at Clifford.
Hartford
Park.
Riverwalk.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't. I know that
Why does it
there's
say
talk of
municipal plan? That's only at
connecting many.
Lyman Park at the town hall.
Well, there was, we used to have.
This was a
the
Simon
Raspberry Revolution, like, so
Okay.
between.
I mean, that's-
Some of the towns are
now,
developing their river frontage, which is a great
He
thing.
wanted to build something.
Back there's raspberry bushes that were just available to the public, balcony, and but then the construction.
Yeah.
Simon Dennis had a
So more,
plan.
I think more
put in
places like that, like
a
even
river
like
walk
berry bushes in
from,
the parks, and stuff like that.
yeah.
that
White
just
River,
be
all the way down
available
through
for-
South Main Street.
And even like the trees that are planted at the town
Yeah, that
hall,
was-
that
right.
are apples
And I
that are,
remember-
like there's
Yeah.
peaches.
And that was something that I think is,
That's cool.
Yeah.
it's great in theory,
I know that.
it's a tremendous.
Well, we don't have any
I would
more.
imagine Lori and Matt. would
Because
have
you-
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
Molly.
They've already coming out. No.
It would be nice if there's
money for it one day, everyone would love it, but.
Talk to the school board. There's some.
I know, exactly. I'm sure even out of the hot seat, because they've been very much in the hot seat, reservedly so. Well, yeah.
We were talking about trying to reinstitute the joint meetings on occasion. And I offered it to Katie, but I said, look, we don't expect that maybe you'll take us up on it because your plate is full with controversy and bond. So I haven't heard anything further.
I would say, put it back where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw it out the back window.
It might be incorporate.
We don't have to end that just because they're not doing something. Maybe we need to collaborate more because they're not so good.
Yeah, it's just.
Well, we have a meeting.
We can't really, can't control what they do, really.
We have nothing.
Oh, 2 minutes, we're gonna wrap up and come together as a bigger group.
Okay.
Okay.
That stuff's on its own.
Yeah.
Okay, close.
We're doing in process.
The last one.
When committees open up.
Oh, I love it. We already talked about
Do we
this,
like
but
reach out to the high
JP,
school in particular?
I told him I have a.
No,
radio.
Private resources to fund recreational
We do
capital.
some of that. I know the Parks and Rec has certain funders that they'll reach if they have a little gap on funding. Is it the Burn Foundation?
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
They fund a ton of stuff.
yes.
I mean, it's a good question, because I'm talking to my dad about things that are going on in Hanover and Oak Hill, and that's all privately funded, and obviously it's a different town, it's a different tax bracket, way different. But there are gonna be people in Hartford. So it's like, if you guys really want a downtown Riverwalk, how about you pay for it, like, it's okay.
Like the same
They
skill
look-
set
yeah,
that goes to college.
for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, same skill set that goes to college alumni and brings in money for capital campaigns. you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
Should be usable in this kind of thing. Support your town.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm sure someone, yeah,
all right. Are we done? Are you
No.
cutting
we didn't
us
get
off
all the
at
way through, but we can stop.
I thought you were.
Yeah.
This is only the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Don't remind us. I'm gonna have to take one stretcher.
Go back and rank.
So we may not.
Okay, so I hope not, because that would take.
Oh, yeah, or discussion.
So yeah, steak and lunch, we'll give you sounds off, we're good right now.
Give it up, State.
I'm giving up steak and lunch.
Where was that gonna happen?
The marina does the end of the year,
Oh.
they throw an end of the year party. where
You got a pork chop with your name.
They do a steak and lobster, and everybody brings like side dishes and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, my marina, so I made 2 apple pies for it, so.
And where are they? Did you think of
I
us?
got eaten. Actually, I have one at home, so I don't want to.
Okay, heard a lot of conversation. So I think, yeah. one more thing. So I think what we'll do is, I think you guys, you four did not maybe get quite as far down the list.
We finished the list.
You finished list. Did you
We
finish the
chose
list?
to dig deeper.
No, we did page one.
Did you pick one? Okay. Why
We got stuck.
All right, what I'll do is I'll ask, can you tell me if there are any on this list, 1 to 26, that you thought could come off of the list? And then can you folks let us know if you agree with any of those? Yes?
The one developing plan for tiny houses that float in the floodplain doesn't seem, I don't know, it's,
What are you talking
I
about?
wouldn't call that a priority.
Well, that's 36.
Oh, yeah.
That's 36, that's the back page, we didn't get.
Back page, okay.
Wait,
Let's
we
start
were
with
these guys first?
Yeah, how about these guys first, 1 to 26,
Oh,
and then we'll move to the back page. No,
sorry.
no, that's,
Sorry,
all
everyone.
right, anything on 1 to 26
Apologies.
from this? group?
A lot of these are aspirational.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, like, number 24, to build a Hartford Riverwalk. I think it's extremely aspirational, but I don't see it as something that
Queechy Lakes.
we can look at
The
doing
drop.
as a town.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think that we can do it as a town.
we kind of, like, thought we could combine that with number 26, which was seek private sources to fund recreational capital. Yeah, like I think that an amazing idea. I don't see us like in the next 5 or 10 years getting.
Yeah, it's a sign that.
I don't know, but I give Scott a lot of credit. He makes things happen.
Mhm.
And he could work to get some of that stuff.
A lot
Who
of
can
it
say no
is-
to him? He's the nicest.
Well, a lot of it's right of ways too. If you're gonna do
Yeah.
Riverwalk, you have to get
Oh.
right of ways.
No, I'm sorry, I was just thinking about the recreational stuff, but yes, you're right.
Okay, so other than that,
The only bad idea I've heard is that number 36 that you just. I
I was a Simon Dennis.
didn't figure about that.
Simon Dennis.
There's a few that we didn't understand.
Yeah, we were not.
Simon Dennis or Alan Johnson?
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't understand a lot of them, so maybe it means that they can come up or need to be incorporated into another one, but like, we didn't understand that number 9, clean energy disruption,
yeah.
We get question marks too.
Yeah,
and number 11,
12.
Does that mean like?
Number 12.
We become an island and no one can get to us? I mean, what does it mean to be self-sustaining?
yeah.
Oh, that means like, oh, may I?
Yeah,
Post Irene, like to have, basically
Energy.
the local government be able to provide what is needed for the town if we are cut off, if there's a supply chain interruption or, we're.
Lose power, whatever,
Mhm.
yeah.
You know, I'm on Salvation Farms board, have been for a long time, and the main objective of Salvation Farms is to see the last truck bringing food into Vermont leave. And that we can take care of it ourselves. So if you want, these are people who thought about self-sustainable things. It might be a good resource.
I see it being a great idea, but yet so many things are perishable. That unless you have MREs, then we could stockpile MREs,
That's what I think we're
meals ready
talking
for
about.
eat, but
That kind of-
yeah, that kind of thing to hand out to people, and we could have bottled water, you know, but I mean, how much does the town want to invest in something like that for emergency
Well, I think it's,
stores? And MREs go bad after a while, you know, so.
we do have a hazard mitigation plan,
And that's about to be
yeah.
rebooted. Yeah.
So I think there'd probably be some elements in there of just like, with even the resources of where, you know, how do you have generators if you need them? Like, this is the source for generators. Of course, everyone will be looking for them at the same time.
Yeah.
Where are the
I have to-
sources, the sources for fuel, if you know, those kind of things, I think are part of the hazard mitigation plan. So we can just kind of keep that in mind while we're discussing that, but this could potentially come off if those things
Right.
are incorporated into that plan, right? This would be, I know you haven't gotten to us yet. We have a number of things that we feel like are in progress, but not complete,
Right,
so.
right.
That was most of the list for
Yeah,
us.
Well, yeah.
Did you understand, can you explain number 12?
Increasing ticket new Americans, this is just like increasing diversity of the community, both culturally.
Are we not doing that?
Was that before or after WHO?
This was before. I think, what year was
Was it
the,
driven by the who, 19, wasn't
yeah, who was like one,
I don't know.
one
68.
one element.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just about like making Hartford a more welcoming in community for folks of all walks of life.
it? I think, well, I think like if you look at the diversity of business ownership downtown, it says a lot for what we're doing. The Tucker Box, Nompeng, I think we're doing pretty good in that aspect.
But
So I think that will come off the list.
no, I don't think it should come off the list.
What's that?
I don't think it should
I
come
don't
off.
think either, because that's
Yeah.
something we should always.
It's
be
ongoing,
thinking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
I think we could rephrase it. It just sounds weird, increase the intake.
Sounds like you
Yeah.
go out and round them up.
Like, I think there's a way to reword it, but like,
And I think that
Yeah.
translated to this document
yeah,
and better phrasing.
Oh, what does it say there?
yeah.
Because we do have people that have left too.
Non-stable,
Mhm.
high quality, functional. Oh, engaged and welcoming, yeah.
Yeah, and equitable
If that is
opportunities
enough, it should
also.
be.
Yeah, I think these equitable opportunities and engaged and welcoming community are kind of the better phrasing of this,
Mhm.
just super list of.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so,
I will note the Hoyt household increased the number of new Americans by 1 when my wife got her citizenship in February.
Congrats.
All right, so it sounded like what I heard was 9, 11, and 12 were question mark,
Yes.
possibly to reword for a new plan or
Give me a
to
different
come
market.
off.
Give me a different market. I can- Well.
Yeah.
Maybe like a green, so I can mark.
24 and 26 to reword combined.
What happened?
Oh, it just fell.
Well, and also, yeah, really, is looking at what, who would give us money?
Like green or blue? Yeah. blue.
I'm just always thinking like, who can we delegate?
Feel better, John,
things
using
to?
blue now.
Who has a skill
I
at
will-
a time?
My
you know?
sister-in-law is a trustee at Dartmouth. She's
Yeah.
gonna be up in a couple weeks.
I have no fear
will
about
have
that.
her. Because that's what she does.
Yeah, you're talking old school.
What she does in Dartmouth is figure out how to use all the money people give her.
Yeah.
Takes a great man to work.
Okay, how about we go one by one? What about 9? And I'll open it up, the whole group. Is that something that
It's,
you
I'd
both
say,
feel today?
right, periodically that gets addressed with hazard mitigation planning.
Yeah.
And maybe several of these could be combined into like, maintain the hazard mitigation plan or something, like something that sort of acknowledges that it's still a priority, but it's encompassed within another document and process, like the
Update as needed. or
updated,
something.
yeah.
right.
Also, I mean, I would just say this document was developed by, except for myself, an entirely different select board.
Yeah.
If this board doesn't like recognize that as something that we want on our strategic document, it's okay to take it off, like, especially if we don't understand it. I know that
Especially,
I
yeah.
know that all this came from
What the hell
a good
was
place, but there were also like, I mean, there were discussions around like, why is this, I don't remember the specifics, honestly, of that one. I know there was supply chain interruption discussions, things like that. So anyway, don't feel like because it was there.
Well, it's interesting. It was the year before COVID. So I wasn't thinking about it, but I would have expected those kind of conversations going on in COVID, but you guys are very prescient.
Well, it was post Irene, pre-COVID.
Post Irene, that's right.
That's right, if they don't resonate,
Yeah,
you can
Yeah,
come off, because
yeah.
I'm sure that you guys are gonna have some new ideas.
Plenty of work.
yeah, I mean, I think we can have one that's like, I don't know, yeah. I don't know the right word, maintain the hazard litigation, mitigation, not litigation plan. Ideally, I,
Kim, to your recollection, does this mean? Is this referring to like the idea that in 15 years, everyone's going to be driving an electric car, but there won't be chargers around?
I think so.
And everyone is like gonna power their house with heat pumps, but we don't have enough generation?
I think so. I think that's a real.
right.
I remember self-driving cars coming up in some
Right.
points.
You're still out there a little bit, but.
That was awesome.
What was the movie with
So,
went to another planet?
so I'm gonna stick to 9. I've heard there's something we could do instead, update and maintain a hazardous mitigation plan, which comes in the next part of our work, which is to decide what goes on the plan. And I think I'm hearing investigate and develop a plan to prepare for clean energy disruption can come off because either you don't understand it or you want to substitute something different. Is that accurate?
Substitute it with the hazard mitigation plan.
With something?
With something.
Which is an in progress thing.
And maybe is 20 part of the hazard mitigation plan process as well?
One, oh, wait.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Farm storage.
I think several of them could go under that umbrella.
Mhm. And, but, and again, when
10,
like, these are the very specific versions that get more generally described here, like, we're not, so in this part, maybe we have a, like, to maintain update and maintain a robust hazard mitigation plan, and then within
What?
that.
One of the things that you want to think about is you have 37 things on this list. And so if in an hour you're gonna add another, say, 10, you're gonna have a list of 47 things,
Yeah.
which seems untenable to me.
Even 36, right?
So you might want to think about, when you look at this list, is there anything that you either want to take off or you want to, as you just said, combine? So I made a note that number 9, number 20 can both go as bullets under maintaining the hazardous mitigation plan. You've mentioned that number 24 and 26 can somehow be combined. Yeah.
I also think that the flood criticality analysis could go into the hazard mitigation.
Okay.
Bucket.
And so could 11, the self-sustaining for a limited period of time,
Yeah,
and 20 and 23.
I mean, is it possible that like, if we take away some of those ones, add in the hazard mitigation, like for this skeleton note, could it still have like little bullets under it that include those things? Cause
That's the way I'm recording this is, we have a heading that says update and maintain hazardous mitigation plan. And then I'm gonna put under the bullets that you guys have said, oh, let's put those there. And hopefully my notes will be accurate. Lanny, you.
Yeah, one of the things that I see has impacted this set of priorities a lot is the the advances in technology. And so when we look at it, we have this label as mapping the future of Hartford. So over the last 5 years, we've seen such drastic changes in technology that has had an impact on this. I'm wondering if we shouldn't just look at short-term future of Hartford versus down the road, because we visited these things in 5 years again. Technology's gonna, I mean, there's such a fast pace of technological changes that are happening in the world. I think that has a huge impact on this, and we should look at more short-term future instead of long-term future.
Or both.
Well, I just don't know. I mean, what's people's thoughts on how far do we want to say the future is? We want to say the future is 3 years, the future is 5 years? Thoughts?
And I think of it as, I mean, we, as a board with the town administration, like short-term planning is what we are tasked with doing right now with any like decisions that are brought before us. And the strategic vision, I think, is specifically meant to think a little longer term, but I mean.
So what is short term?
I would say 5 years is short term.
That's short term.
With, yeah, what could we accomplish? What do we want to accomplish and what could we accomplish in 5 years? What do we want to accomplish within 10 years? What do we want to accomplish within?
So the other
As it
thing,
is, like, just fixing a sidewalk takes practically 5 years by the time you get the funding.
the other thing we have to look at, I mean, we're seeing it right now in the town of Hartford, is the impact of the states, what the state's doing on town of Hartford. Like what they're doing to the roads with the bicycle lanes and stuff. They're making huge impacts for mobility in town of Hartford, and that's not within our own control. You know, that's the state's control. So the state has a lot to do with this as well. That's like, as I talked about before, we've lost some of that local control that we used to have in the past to be able to make some of these own decisions. Okay.
So it sounds like we have a few 9, 20, 11, and 23 that can sort of come under the umbrella,
And 10.
and 10.
If you're asking of ones that we marked as like, maybe we can drop them off. We identified, I think more or less we were in agreement on number 34. Because we're
doing that.
We're doing it, yeah.
there are groups doing that anyway. Number 36. And maybe number 32.
Number 27.
32, because that's current practice.
Social service
Right,
provider.
when they want something, they usually come before us anyway.
Yeah, but that's not what that was put on there for. I think that was put on there, the fact that we have at our voting, town voting in March, we have all these social service agencies that request so much money from the town of Hartford. And there's so little information to the taxpayers in the town of Hartford about what they do. And that is the what I think was put on there for, is the fact that we need more information that we can put out to the taxpayers of Hartford. What these individual, because people, I mean, they get voted for every year, everybody votes for them. But how many people really understand what they do and how much of what they're paying goes to the town of Hartford?
You'd have to change your current policy on social service appropriations, which says once they've been approved, they're in the budget.
Right, yeah, that's the problem, is that I think that we need to have more focus on the educational part of what are people actually voting on when they vote for social service agencies.
I wonder if that can happen in a venue that's not select board meetings, because it doesn't seem the right, I mean, it would be educational for us to hear about what these, but I feel like I see this as more of like the communication to the public piece, like some structure, so social service industry, like, can get their word out about what their work is and why they're requesting the funding and more direct to the
Budget,
public.
candidates night or
I don't see the
Isn't that
select board meeting being like this
marketing?
bottleneck for that
Like,
information, that's like not the best venue.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question. Now, if one of those groups came to budget and candidate night, could they present?
That's what the whole objective of that is.
They
Well,
can
they
come up
want to
to-
hear from us then. We're the stars.
I thought number 27 was confusing and continued on.
Okay, how do people feel about
I had
that?
a question.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if you don't understand what it means, and you guys will probably have other ideas and things to add.
Yeah,
If this
yeah,
phrasing
yeah.
does not make sense
Mhm.
to this board, then
Just like we combined some hazard mitigation, I thought we could combine 3 DPW things. Which increase system capacity of downtown drainage, bring public walkways and sidewalks up to standard.
can you say the
Okay, the
numbers?
numbers.
Sorry, number 5, number 13, and then number 15. Analyze need for stormwater, wastewater, sewer improvements.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It could be something like,
Support DPW's efforts to maintain resilience and code compliance.
Yeah.
Speaking of in those 3, I had listed all as sort of in process. There are many more that are in process. And like, the question is, do we want to keep those that are clearly in process? Do we want to keep them on this list? Or do we just want to take them off?
Almost, that's true of almost all 1
Yeah.
through 5 or 6.
However, there are, these things are in process and progress. There are more projects. So like, even though the TIF projects, the South Main Street water mains being CSO, all that whole thing. I mean, there's still the whole Hartford Ave project. I mean, like, there's always going to be water and wastewater needs throughout the town. Like, that's gonna be an never ending
Yeah.
thing. So I would not take it off of anything. I would just say like continued progress or something like that.
What was your group's thoughts on 18?
Yes, where did that come from?
We thought of that as being something kind of like the community safety review was looking at. I mean, I know the language is a little vague. But we were like, this is something that we're kind of on, something that, we're doing. It is strangely worded.
It can come off, I think, because I think
Yeah.
that was aspirational toward the community safety review, which I think I don't disagree with some of the criticisms of the outcome. We had 5 or 6 proposals. This was the least expensive. Some of the consultants proposed 3 times, 4 times the amount. Anyway, so I think that was the goal there, and we did accomplish it to some extent. I'm just trying to sort of like recognize and honor the ways that a lot of people feel safe and unsafe in different ways, and that was sort of.
There are always people within the town of Hartford that are gonna feel unsafe
Right.
in their neighborhoods.
In any town.
Anytime, and regardless if you were to park a cruiser on their street in front of their house, they would feel, okay, I'm safe here, but I'm not safe here.
That might
And
make
that's,
someone else feel unsafe
Yeah.
too.
Right. Why are they here? What's the
so
danger, right?
the difficulty is that statement about you can please so many people some of the time, you can't please all the people all the time. So I think that Chief Sheldon presented one time about the homelessness aspect and bringing drugs into the community. I remember him saying that it's not the homelessness that's bringing the drugs into the community. You know, so that's, but the perception is that it is the homelessness bringing drugs. I mean, such as the needle that was found in, in Weiler. I mean, is that homelessness is bringing that into the community? He says it's not. So that's the problem, is that when people see homelessness, they automatically associate it with drug use, and that's the problem, getting that perception of just because you're homeless doesn't mean you're a drug addict.
In fact, I've heard recently, one set of homeless people worried about hanging out with another set of homeless people
Yeah.
because they don't want to be in their company.
But the problem is that no matter what you do, you're gonna have the people, and we know who they are. I don't need to name anybody.
Yeah.
We have the people that just see homelessness, or people that are not as well dressed as you or I would be. And they automatically assume that there's drugs and we're dealing drugs and it's a safety issue. And I don't know how to address that issue. It's unless you get more patrols and spend a lot more money on police department and have, patrol.
And I think we can put safety as an issue that maybe you guys want to talk about, crafting some kind of statement to put on this plan, but maybe, what was it? 18 is not the statement that this board wants. Yeah. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree with Lanny, but if we're gonna take it up a minute, I'll skip, but I did note, number 25, increased communication with the school board. As chair, I'm making the decision that we stay as far away as possible.
You wouldn't be surprised if it came to the same.
But also,
Eventually.
but I also think that that's not like a strategic priority. That's an internal thing that we decide to do as a board. Like we say, like, let's have a joint meeting with them. I don't think it needs to be in our list.
Right.
But yeah, we're gonna steer clear for a little while.
Yeah. Does that resonate with people? Take number.
I'm fine with taking it off. I do want to say like, as in the long term, the more integrity our public officials have in that views, in that, the eyes of the citizens, the better off we're all gonna be in terms of communication. And so it's like, if they're struggling with an integrity problem, I don't know, we're the ones we don't need to solve it right now. We can leave them some space to figure it out. But in the longer view, it's like, if there is more internal communication and there's ways that we can support, if it's like all, like, rise all boats type of scenario.
Yeah, we took some efforts to try and
Yeah.
have joint meetings and increase our communication. I think now though, John's even tried, like,
Yeah,
with our new superintendent, like, it's really hard, I think,
Yeah.
to kind of get them to even get
Yeah.
back to us to like
Yeah.
schedule stuff,
Right.
they need a little
if there's
time.
no traction, there's no traction. Yeah,
Yeah,
It is aspirational.
it's aspirational. Yeah.
To go back again, I also agree with what Lanny was saying in terms of perception and, there is good news that this last year overdose deaths decreased by like 11%, and nationally, even like Vermont was specifically called out on this particular NPR story, but which is like hopefully a trend, post-pandemic, less isolation, more public health access, all those things. Shoot, then I lost my train of thought from that one. I'll come back to it, but I think I had.
Homelessness.
I know what it was, just,
Yeah.
talking with one of the shopkeepers, I sent John something about this, but in Brattleboro, they have significant, homelessness issue and, particularly in the business district. And they have increased just like officer foot patrols, they've increased like an unarmed, law enforcement, but that unarmed first responder kind of roles. And this is just anecdotal, but this shopkeeper was like, it was instantly noticeable, just the like more decorum, less like peeing on the sidewalk and, you know, doing like, you know, just kind of like the expectations. They actually are proposing like a code of conduct of sorts for just community code of conduct, like public behavior, which I'm a little on the fence about, you know, anyway, I'm not suggesting that, but what I am suggesting is we got like all of the cops, not all of them, but most of them have bicycles. They should be bicycling through, you know, on Hartford Ave and through Wilder and walking in downtown White River Junction and just kind of like being more accessible, present, not just sitting at.
I'm just laughing because the complaints about the bike paths.
Bike lanes, I know, right?
You know, I think this is
Exactly.
a great segue.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure we have enough time to get to the next part of our conversation where you guys will be brainstorming, what do you want to add? What aspirational items do you want to add, long-term, short-term for the strategic plan? So, in that spirit, yes.
This would go under, I think, affordability, economy, taxes, and that would be to try and advocate as a board for the adoption of the local.
Okay, so before we get there.
We're not there yet.
Oh, we were there.
I'm gonna give you- Well, we are there, but I'm gonna give you guys 10 minutes. You all have a sticky pad. In that 10 minutes, write down your ideas on a sticky pad. Walk around, you'll see the various categories are up there and stick your sticky pad where you think, you know, where you want to categorize it. This will be a good way for us to just, what's that?
For new ideas?
New ideas, yeah, or rephrasing old ideas, and that
Okay.
can be part of what you guys talk about. If you want to
Perfect,
take
thank you.
something off, we have a different way of phrasing it, put it up there. We'll give you guys 10 minutes and then we'll have a break where you guys can walk around and take a look at what your colleagues have come up with. All right, I'll let you know. 10 minutes is up. Okay, guys, looks like we haven't got a lot of ideas to get through, okay? So, I think we should start over here and go this way, and that way you guys might be able to get through a few. It looks like there are a couple with not as many ideas as I see over here. Does somebody want to volunteer to read out the ideas that are on high quality learning opportunities?
I can do it.
Okay, great.
It says interns. You want to hear more about what someone meant by that, or
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
interns?
Interns.
Long term.
Okay, anybody?
I put that up there. I don't know if the town does, but internships can be helpful for students to learn about like local governance and certain things like that. They can also actually help out, like researching policies and digitizing policies, things like that. And it probably looks good on a college application as well. So I think it's an opportunity to both increase civic engagement, people that age, and to get some practical work.
And they're a recruiting tool for a future. Interns can become staff members. Yeah.
And I don't know if we have programs like that, or any of the offices do. I mean, maybe.
Well, I know that there's a UVM program that's just getting off the ground for their students to get embedded in local governments. And that's being rolled out kind of now.
Parks and Rec uses, Parks and Rec is like one of our poster child for departments, and they've used interns. I don't know if they do it all the time, but they had an intern that designed their new logo a few years ago, and it's brilliant, like, and they won't let us use it for the whole town. Anyway, yeah, I think that's a great.
Also, yeah, and also Dartmouth, I know Esme Cole, who's our state rep for our county, and one of them, she had a bunch of Dartmouth interns with her at town meeting day. And so there's Dartmouth students who are interested in local government kind of work, yeah.
Great idea.
Okay, it sounds like that's resonating for people, so should we'll keep the sticky there? I'm gonna take pictures of all of these.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
And another one on short term, under high quality learning opportunities, returning foreign language to school curriculum for all grades.
Who put that up there?
I did.
They cut the list. You just told me
Yeah,
that.
They cut it out, they cut
my
out French.
grandson went into fourth grade, all excited to go back to Spanish and say, oh, we're not doing that anymore. They didn't announce it, they tell me the
No
parents.
Spanish, no French.
No.
Unfortunately, that's not within our bailiwick to be able to do anything. But that's a school thing. So I mean,
But, you know, I mean, I see that as welcoming,
Mhm,
right? We can't even bother to learn another language now.
mhm.
We can't teach it to our kids. There's so many ramifications for this. It's really disappointing.
And that's, I don't disagree with you at all whatsoever. I just don't know how we're gonna. You know, it's just like.
I mean, unless honestly, Parks and Rec could start a language club.
Yes.
You know, I
They
mean,
would.
that's not,
I think there are Alliance Française type
I mean, we have the
classes.
Sister City
Yeah.
committee.
You can put down on Sister City.
The city and or Parks and Recs for like, I mean, if the school can't do it, maybe it could be a funded thing that families pay. like,
Or
a small.
I know in Hanover at the Howe Library, they have like conversational French or whatever, and you know, it's in the libraries, you know, so you could come after school for this conversational French for an hour.
Which library?
Well, it was the Howe Library.
Hanover.
And I mentioned there's like, right, she mentioned, our rep Esme bringing like Dartmouth students or interns to town meeting, right? Like the other thing too is like Hanover, Dartmouth's got like the Rossius Center and maybe
Yeah.
like language learning.
Right,
I mentioned another thing about a collaboration with a place at Dartmouth, like that's, I mean, overall, like there are resources, Dartmouth's like got a lot of expertise. We also have a lot of students who might want to get experience in the field doing certain things, and if there's some way, I don't know quite what they would be, but
Mhm.
we can connect somehow, you know, with them, then maybe just be like a resource that we're not really tapping.
They were there at a town manager get together in Woodstock in the spring. And they had somebody from their outreach office.
So do they?
Kind of trying to plug into communities.
So they do like engineering and stuff, like civil engineering, I imagine could be some, like, there's tons of stuff.
What are the?
Henry's got a.
yeah, I was just gonna say, we have Community College of Vermont.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is even possible, it's going back to foreign language, but I know there's I don't know if they're still doing it, but when my daughter was in high school, you could petition, the school could petition if you wanted to take a class that Hanover High School didn't have.
Yeah.
And if there's room in a course and you could work it around your schedule, they okayed it, because she wanted to take Mandarin Chinese,
Mhm.
which wasn't offered at Hanover, and she went at 7:30 every morning over to Dartmouth, sat in on took a class. They were very welcoming. I was really amazed. I thought, oh, you know, but you know, Dartmouth can do that kind of outreach. I don't know if Community College of Vermont could do some things. It doesn't have to be languages. It could be something else too, but
Sounds like this idea is resonating with people. We don't need to get the exact language
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
What are the?
But something like develop language learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Sounds like this board is interested in that.
One of the things that we have to really pay close attention to is that anything like this, there's a lot of things like this, and they get thrown into, let Parks and Rec deal with it. So
yeah.
we don't want to overwhelm our Parks and Rec department with all these very great ideas.
Mhm.
So, you know, it's something we have to look at, is that maybe we should look at something for, you know, creation of a different, you know, genre for being able to do this kind of stuff. But it's just, you know, the more and more, everything I see come across it, well, let's just Park and Rec deal with it. If we don't know what to say.
idea
let's
of the libraries thing.
Yeah.
I know, but it's
I
a,
think that's a great point, and the next piece of our conversation is talking about who do we want to allocate responsibility to for the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, it seems like
Maybe for
it's-
this,
yeah.
it's not, it shouldn't be.
it just seems like we always lend to, and there's no doubt that Scott does an excellent job on what he does, but you know, there's only so much bandwidth in that aspect too. So we gotta be careful with how much we say, well, let's just Park and Rec.
And I don't know if, I think this could link, I keep going back to this short-term goal, could link to engage welcoming communities, but, there's several of us that came up with the same idea where look at the Turkish people at the Tucker Box. We could, maybe they'd be willing in an off-season or something to do something culturally enriching, whether it be a little bit of language or a little bit of, they
I
certainly.
love them. They have it in the Tucker box. They have like the cute little phrases, like
Right.
just basic how you say hello
Right,
and.
right.
I think there's a World Affairs Council, accessible that could provide some kind of maybe cultural overview of
Right,
certain parts of the world, and maybe that segues into our Turkish friends or something.
right.
Why
And
don't
I was
we
just
use-
thinking, you know, a couple of us put up, you know, you know, some of these different cultural things being offered at like a block party, maybe, you know, twice a year or something, so that we're not only, it's not just the kids, but it's also the community that,
Well, why don't, somebody like the Turkish, folks or like the Indian folks or the Chinese folks, there's gotta be special holidays. They do special celebrations. Want to have them set something up on, Briggs Park? You know, for
It's a good idea.
their, you know, Briggs Park is an excellent idea, excellent place downtown that these different cultural, individuals that we have in our town could use for celebrate their individual, festivities. You know?
I think that fits in with the engaging and
Yeah.
welcoming
Yeah.
ways to do that, because I called for like more block parties,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
the thing, you know, it's like.
and they could serve their
Different things
food
they
and
can do.
introduce people to different,
Exactly,
you
exactly.
know, cultural type foods. I mean, Turkish coffee, I love Turkish coffee.
It's the one with the grounds in it, right?
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
All right. Okay, it seems like we got two things that we want to add to the list.
Surely.
All right, Ida, you willing to keep reading?
Sure, I'll do resilience. So that's, resilience is the header for long-term trade skills programs. And rehab AVAC in town hall.
HP.
HVAC.
HVAC.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then short term, widespread education. And,
Drug abuse.
okay, something on drug abuse, yeah. And then support police and community communication and collaboration on public safety. And add facilities manager to the town staff.
all right, does anyone want to jump in?
I'll jump in on facilities manager. I know it's been raised before, but it's so much, and I've got a memo together which will be rolled out at budget time, but so much of what Scott Hausler, overworked department heads,
Yeah.
and Dana Clausen, so much of what they do day to day, is just troubleshooting facilities.
right,
I mean, taking them away from their core functions. And to the extent that the school district has one, yes, we've got less actual physical plant, but we've got lots of buildings in need of better maintenance, preventative maintenance, maybe collaborating with the environmental sustainability person about right sizing heat pumps for different buildings. You see it at the town office. We've got floors that are popping up and carpets that are aging. I mean, it strikes me that maybe the time has come to think about a facilities manager, but let's just put a pin in it. Stay tuned for a budget discussion.
okay.
Well, by put a pin in it, do you mean take it off the list or leave it on the list and it will come up?
It will come up in the budget
Okay.
discussion, so I don't know how you want to deal with it for today.
Great. Anything, any of those that anybody would take off of?
I'm a huge fan of trade skills programs. I don't know that that's us. as
I mean,
much.
we're
I
already
mean,
doing it in the sense of like the programs that Dana talked about through,
Workforce for women.
Workforce for Women. Yeah, there are like a couple programs of like teaching people how to repair heat pumps or teaching people how to, like, there are programs that are not just in the tech center at the school,
Okay.
but that are community programs that I think
we have a role in.
we have a role in.
Well, and the VOTEC has the kids who do the timber stuff in Hurricane Forest too.
True, so that's town overlap
Right.
as well. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think like long-term resilience, we need people skilled in the trades that isn't.
That's great, but speaking for someone that has taken a Vermont, jobs training, I took the Vermont jobs training where they had heat pumps and, weatherization, and it was great, but there was it was such a short thing that, and it was a 3-week thing too. And I learned how to install a heat pump, I learned how to do insulation, but there needs to be much longer classes geared towards individual things. And the trades are something that we need to push too. The fact that if you're a skilled tradesperson, you can make very good money.
Yeah.
And they should put those courses on, like, I don't know, like 4 times a year, I think. But have them at least a month long so people get a little more education. So I would love to learn a lot more about heat pumps. So maybe we should be able to push that somewhere. You know, DPW could put classes on the DPW, I believe. So yeah, I think definitely something we need to get more involved with.
That we're not taking off, like, we didn't put up there the stuff about the food forests and that kind of thing, but we're not taking it off, right? I mean, that's not just a new thing.
The idea right now is we're putting on things that you all came up with that you want to add, and then we're gonna go through this list that still exists from the
Yeah.
last time, and put them where they belong.
Okay.
I think the two under short term go together, at least I wrote one of them that seemed ties in this one about widespread education around drug abuse, and then mine was police and community communication collaboration on public safety, just sort of trying to get to our prior conversation about making sure community members' safety concerns are addressed. And John offered that, the police chief is like working, he's been encouraging him to do more kind of communication. I think it ties into making sure, people feel like they're heard and that there's some communication collaboration around topics of safety that are concerned to folks about.
I know this is asking a lot, but could like Chief Sheldon or one of the other police officers ever come to a select board meeting or I don't know how we could get it out, but be able to do, a quick presentation on what they most see as concerns and how they address it, so people know. And where there'd be a Q&A. I'm just saying this because a friend of mine, someone backed into her car. And they were seeing somebody near her, in a unit near her. And the police were called, and the guy who did it came out and they talked. But she felt that she was yelled at by the police equally because they were trying to get, say what was going on. And the guy talked first to hit her car, which was parked. And so she said, he told me to go back, and he told us, both of us, to go back into our apartments. And she said, I felt like I was being treated unfairly. And it's my car. And I'm going, God, I wouldn't know what to do under these circumstances. And I said, maybe you should call and ask, what's the protocol? There's so many protocols that we don't understand, and how the police respond to something. It's always hard because you have these ideas for the public, but then the public doesn't always come. And those are the ones that really could use a lot of that.
My concern is, as soon as you put the police out there, there'll be a lot of people come.
Oh, okay.
And so I'd rather that be a standalone
Right,
event so that you don't, A, lose a select board meeting,
right,
and B, invite a feeding frenzy without full
Right.
preparation by the police to be
Right.
ready to roll out something affirmatively and
right,
effective.
right, yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll wrap up, because it sounds like this idea is resonating for you guys. That some way to like interface communication about public safety.
Yeah.
So we'll keep it on the list. Is that right?
One thing though, that I don't think we as a board have really defined is what is resilience, defining resilience for the town of Hartford. Because when you look it up, resilience is something totally different than what the ideas up there.
Just
So-
preparing for and responding to emergent challenges.
I've got community resilience is a process linking to network of adaptive capabilities, resources with dynamic attributes to adaptation after disturbance or adversity. So that's why I'm saying it depends on what we use as a definition for diversity, resilience. That is. So we need to come up as a town with the definition of what is resilience in terms of Hartford. And then we can structure, because everybody's going to look at resilience from a different standpoint. What is resilient to the police department? What is resilient to the fire department? What is resilient towards Parks and Rec? So we as a town need to, that's why I say we really should define these terms of what resilience is.
Well, for example, well, engaging the community, that could also be the police discussion about safety. And engaging with the public.
Right.
Might not be so much a resiliency thing.
Yeah, resilience, I do tend to think more in terms of like,
Bouncing back, I think like resilience is
there's
bouncing
something
back.
about like community
Preparation.
resilience and
Yeah.
like the strengthening of the fabric
Yeah,
of the community that
Exactly,
is,
so,
All right, so maybe you guys are thinking this doesn't belong here.
maybe moved over to
Yeah.
engagement.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Is that welcoming?
does that
engagement?
sound, does that, folks agree with that?
Yeah, I'll note like a lot of these individual ones, I think, fall into a larger bucket
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
group communication, which is something I think.
Right.
is focused
This
on.
responsive.
I'm behind
responsive
resilience, I
governance,
just need,
is that what I'm
we need
hearing?
to define it, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
To government.
You're gonna have a chance to look at all of these again, and you may decide at some point, you need to move this one, move to there, and yeah, so this isn't the only time you see this list.
All right,
Okay, if we're gonna get done, we gotta pick up the pace.
Okay. Go.
all right, engaged and welcoming community, I'll read. All right, long term, build a community center.
I love that idea. I really think we need that. I didn't put it up there, but I think it's an awesome idea.
All right, I see a thumbs up.
Thank you.
You did that?
I've heard it around the community.
I think it's an awesome idea, yeah.
Yeah.
They actually been looking for places.
I mean,
but
Wilder Center tried the same.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that's great. That's
So-
great.
It was pretty,
We just were, right, so it's long term, maybe.
yeah, and it was pretty expensive.
And be ready for the debate over which village gets. it.
Right.
Yeah.
Great
Well,
building right there.
And you know, some of these are aspirational too, right? You don't
Right.
have to have the nitty gritty of how you'll get there, but it's the
Well,
place you
well,
want
like-
to get to.
There and again, what defines community? I mean, I've heard it said a lot that it'd be great to have some place for kids to go to after school.
Right.
Okay, so that means you have to group around schools, which means Waver Junction, which means where you're gonna find a place to put it.
No, but like here, the kids come after school, they get off the bus and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
come here, and same with the Hartford Village one, they get after school, they go there, Wilder Library, they after
Yeah.
school, they go there, I mean, the libraries are in effect. An existing community centers, which honestly.
Yeah, that's like, right, this. I have more questions too, but yeah, is there a need for a space, or is there a need for more collaboration, coordination around existing spaces? Like, we have libraries, we have the Bugby Center. We have other like spaces that do serve some of those functions, so maybe it's not enough. I haven't heard
It's not a
this.
priority for me.
Are they just a place for kids to get to, so they stay off the streets and stay warm, or is it a place they go and engage in
I mean,
learning or play video games or?
Our Parks and Rec programs,
Yeah.
I mean. My post-select board life is gonna be starting a youth managed cafe, but that will be really sort of, that for high school kids, you know, not just for little kids. Anyway, I feel like that, we can leave it in there, but like. I do think like that, like what I was saying about collaborating, same thing with block parties and stuff when we get to it. There are so many things that happen right now that I think people are always saying like, oh, we need more events, we need more this, we need more that. I think like just concentrating on really like branding and marketing the stuff that we do already in order to make it more broad appeal to wider, anyway.
All right, so I'm hearing it can stay on, it might not be a priority, which is, we'll talk about how you guys want to prioritize these things. I'm gonna keep it here for now.
Yeah.
All right, short term, cultural themed festivities and parties, several times a year.
It sounded like an design.
That'd be an idea. Yeah, it's not, I didn't put it up there, but that's my idea,
Okay,
putting it in, Frederick's Park, you know?
I put up block parties more often with the idea that it would, I think that fits in with that,
Mhm.
right?
put these together.
Engage our diverse
And I
community.
see quarterly neighborhood potlucks, which I think could probably find some phrasing that encompasses all of those things.
And that even could spill into police efforts to have channels of communication with each village's people, a way to get messages out as part of that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
at one time, the police were doing
It was neighborhood watch, maybe?
yeah, but no, they were doing ice cream, they're doing ice cream.
Right, they did some of that
They
this
still
summer.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still do that, yeah, okay. Do they still doing the coffee with the
Well,
cop?
that was with HCC.
So that with coffee, they do coffee with the cop too?
I don't know about that, but I remember the ice cream was
I
also.
remember, yes, I remember at one point they talked about coffee with a cop and they handed out ice cream, so, yeah,
Okay. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads, so I'm keeping all of you up there.
yeah.
Next, we have 2 cultural sensitivity training for all staff and boards. Under engaged and welcoming community.
What was the training they just did?
Yeah, we just did a respectful workforce training, so it's on HR's
Yeah.
radar screen, and I think they implement some of that.
Does it make sense to vote? Is this something that
So
you
we're doing
guys
it,
want to have?
if we're doing it,
Be ongoing, but I don't know if it has to be right now, since it sounds like you've been doing that, but maybe
For the
every,
boards, I mean, there were like, we have a strategic plan for equity and inclusion.
right?
The board has sort of steered away from any diversity, equity and inclusion training. I think that genuinely, if we ever want to succeed in becoming a more diverse, ethnically, racially, like, we need more cultural competency within our municipality as an organization to just, basically like more welcoming and engaging. If it's not a priority for the Vulcan board,
Where do we think this abundant sun is going next with our cohort? We've done 2 years in a row on welcoming and engaging discussions. Is there plans to do more with the group that we're working with?
the board basically expressed a sort of a lack of willingness to do much more. I haven't been scheduling any more workshops or anything. This is the last one that I have on the books planned. Happy to engage and produce more opportunities if the board is willing, but I think that's a discussion. If it's even conceptually a priority, I will happily help facilitate it.
I'm just gonna interrupt for 1 minute because the other post-it here says diversity messaging. So I think this seems like a conversation that you guys are having right now. So I just want you to think about both of those things.
Well, and I'm wondering, how do you go from, the training that we do as select board members to where it reaches out to the staff and trickles into the community?
Right.
Because you can't force people, and we know that people stick, sometimes there have been some naysayers saying, why do we have DEI? I think we need it, but what I'm saying is, how does our training then trickle out to the rest?
I have thoughts on that, Mike.
I think like training for staff very important because they deal with the public and they deal with different people and they need to have some, they just need to be aware of things, I think, when they deal with people, providing a public service. As for our board training, look, I'm probably one of the dissenters here. I don't find it particularly useful and I don't know how our DEI training within the board spreads out beyond anything, honestly, Like, I'm very strongly in favor for the staff that, has to serve everyone in the public. Like, I think that's helpful. But that's just my personal feelings about it. As someone who has to do diversity training every year in my job and everything like that, sometimes I've gotten stuff out of it. 5th year in a row, not so much, I don't think, so when it comes to an internal select board thing, is that like the best way to bring us together? Is that the best kind of training for us? I've always thought the best training for us would be to like go to an escape room. We literally have to rely on each other to like get out, honestly. Like, I feel like that would do more team building between us than something else, but that's a different discussion. I'm just.
So the problem that I have with diversity, equity, inclusion is defining what's missing for the diversity, equity, inclusion in the town of Hartford. That's the thing that I'm still missing on, what is still needed for the general public to feel like we've got it nailed.
Never gonna have it
Never
nailed.
have it.
Well, that's,
That's
You
so,
will never have it nailed, but is it something that you guys want to put on your strategic plan?
just be nice, that's all, just be nice.
So honestly, like that would be an interesting exercise within a workshop, because just being nice is a great, like, being respectful, being nice is a good foundation, but it doesn't really like offer a depth of understanding of how
Right.
living in a multicultural community requires sometimes a little bit more than that.
Respect can mean different things to different people. for
Right.
sure.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, I know, sorry, yeah.
We've
We
got a
got
lot more work
okay,
to do.
yeah.
So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna put that on the list and we're gonna highlight it and you guys are gonna have to decide where this space goes.
I'm just gonna put a star on the corner of these, because it
Yep.
seems like an ongoing
There's
conversation.
not a full consensus.
Yeah, not a full consensus. Okay, visionary and responsive governance. Institutionalized policies, procedures, and access to them.
Yes. I love that.
I really want that.
Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads.
Mhm.
All right. Quarterly listening and participation sessions.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
How was listening different than participation?
Well, I don't know what you want to call them, but it is like, right, like, maybe it's a participation session in the public, right? We had our listening session at the Wilder Library. What I think what came out for me that I realized is important is that public comment is not designed to be the dialogue that people want to have with us, right? And it just isn't. It's 3 minutes, you're really not even supposed to ask questions, you're supposed to comment, and if people want like a dialogue with us, then I think that's making that opportunity available, up to them to come and do it.
Look forum or something.
Yeah, that's what I would be thinking.
I did not feel like we had a lot of dialogue that night. I feel like the people have some very deep-rooted upsets with us and with the town, and there was no function there, and I wondered if they left feeling better or worse.
Did you get
So,
any feedback from anyone?
no, just watching the room.
I think it was appreciated from the little input. I
Some
had.
people, yes, I think, but I would like us to work on having a format where people who have long-term issues, we try and figure out how to address them. So,
Maybe next time we get a listening session on the books, we could talk about what kind of format would work
I'll
better.
be that small group,
Yeah.
because sometimes you can feel heard by two people that you don't feel when there's 30 people in the room.
Meaning having a thing, but having like breakout smaller group things and stuff.
So I'm gonna
So,
help
yeah.
again, there are a
Yeah,
number,
yeah, yeah.
there are a number of formats that I think that Anita and I could offer you guys to think about that might accomplish what I think you're asking for.
solve everything right
Well, we're not gonna, but I don't think now is the time. So I think the question is whether or not this concept stays on the list.
And it could be brought into dialogue with community members.
Yeah.
Increased dialogue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just gonna have one question.
Yep. Okay, all right, we can go for this.
It's not helping much.
I know, that's terrible.
Leverage resources.
That's gonna come up more when we get to environmental sustainability, but the idea, I'm thinking more is collaboration with entities like at the college, like at the law school that want to work or help or have things to offer us that we can reach out and leverage.
So
I see
could
that.
we, to make that specific, so 5 years from now, when somebody's looking at this and says, we don't know what that means, we call that leverage and engage with other entities that are in and around our community?
Yeah, I think
We'll
so.
collaborate.
When we get to the environmental sustainability, I'll give it a specific example of something I was thinking about, but yeah.
All right, I'm seeing nodding heads in a little bit. Okay. Let's see, town poll. Once a month, issue a poll to all who sign up with their emails, a few issues, questions each time.
Yeah, I thought of that because it seems like folks want a way to voice their opinion to us on things. And so often we've talked amongst ourselves about this issue or that and said, well, we don't really know what the public thinks. We haven't put it to them for a vote. And it's like, this could be something like an informal thing that, if it's a regular thing, it could become more popular, you know, word of mouth will travel like, oh, have you seen this month's?
It's about the budget, or it's about the.
Yeah, well, it could have 3 to 5 questions that we decide to.
Does it make sense to put this with increased dialogue with the listening sessions as sort of a way to increase, input from community members?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's like two sides of the communications bucket. There's like what
Right.
we put out to people and how we hear from them.
Right.
And definitely we can put out as much as we want, but we don't have a great method we come up with yet, really, other than people just writing to us or commenting to get it back.
In a similar vein, I see here civic engagement mailer, meetings, where to find resources on the website or at town hall.
Yeah, so basically this came up in that same context where, one mailer to everyone we have an address for in town with a list of the meeting dates, and then also like where to find the agendas, where to find the minutes, where to find the Zoom link, where to find where things are posted physically, the libraries, town hall, anything basically, like without it being a huge document, but like a mailer once a year that lists all the
Resource guide.
resource guide, yeah.
Of course, we do a town report once a year. We could incorporate.
Yeah, does that mail to everyone?
Oh,
No, it's like.
you're right, but we print about 300 or 400 of them for those who want it in that form.
Right.
Otherwise, it's.
I'm talking about like a velocity
One-pager,
one
yeah.
pager mailed to everyone's home.
All right, I see one here that might kind of capture a lot of these ideas. Develop communication plan. I've seen a lot of nodding heads, and these all seem to be aspects of how
Yeah.
Yeah.
you want to communicate and how you want folks to communicate with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully JD's gonna be working.
Yeah, we just had a brand new communications officer and our listening session was devoted to developing a communications plan.
All right. Okay, this one I might not be able to read, so jump in if I'm saying it wrong. Widespread educational. Somebody read this?
Cursive,
Cursive, yeah. Widespread education.
it's gotta be you, Sue. It's gotta be you.
Fine, but education,
It's gotta be you, Sue. She's the one who writes in cursive.
something on drugs,
Remember? Wait, the drug abuse one, isn't that over here?
but
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was one from earlier.
Yeah.
That was one from earlier.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
right, that's right.
It sort of was part of the police communication.
Yep,
Community,
okay.
yeah, safety.
All right. All right. Okay,
Mhm.
progress.
Yes.
All right, here we go to environmental sustainability. All right, long term, I see a VAP implementation.
Climate action plan,
Climate action plan.
which we have.
We have, and we're committed to it,
Yeah.
but it's just, it's just a roll on.
well, and that was top of the list of all the things that people said when I was years in a row doing block party, taking up their interest for ARPA funds.
So, yeah,
Seeing nodding heads.
keep it on.
All right. Emissions dashboard.
Yeah, that's another one, and that goes with the short term and kind of with leveraging. I was talking to someone so Dartmouth's got the Irving Institute, which is like their energy policy center. And I was talking to someone there, and I was just asking, like, what are you doing over there? And I'm developing a pilot program where I find municipalities and I work with them to create essentially a dashboard that shows like what their emissions are. Like how they could reduce some things like that, right? So I think that's an interesting idea on its own, but it also seemed like a place where it's like, hello, we'll volunteer. If you're doing this, and it doesn't cost us much, we'll give you the info you need. And we'll work with you as a local entity to try and improve, some of this stuff in our town. So that was where like the idea of leveraging stuff came, because that is an institute. of
Resource, yeah.
And they do stuff like that. They'll work with municipalities on, their emissions essentially.
And Jeff Martin he was the sustainability coordinator before Dana. He used to provide like an actual like enumerated financial equivalent to the amount of money the town saved based on the the initiatives that he.
Is that $64 million thing we talked about the other night?
It's along those lines. I don't think that was specifically referencing, but basically like he was able to show that his salary was paid for by the savings that the town had discovered.
I
So
think what I was getting at the listening session we had is justify, like Dana, justify his job, justify how much he's.
yeah, I mean, we don't
saved
have to put it in that context.
Right,
To
but I
show,
mean-
to be able to see like where not only is the town making progress, but how much money
We were-
is.
You
yeah,
can
we were
do well
sold.
by doing good.
Exactly.
We were sold on that position that that person would save us
Yeah.
X amount of dollars, and that's why that person, I mean, I personally think that we need to sell that person. This is how much we gain from this position,
Mhm.
you know, so.
Okay, that sounds like sort of a separate idea from this Irving Institute idea and maybe part of the communications plan, how or what wants to be communicated, but on this Irving Institute and emissions
I
dashboard.
mean, that's like a specific, which may or may not be something that would actually work out, but I think it's sort of the idea, like they are a resource. That deals specifically like with this kind of issue. So I mean, I don't mind if the specifics of the Urban Institute is taken off, you know. As long as we sort of, I like the idea.
We have this leverage, or leverage resources over here. So. Do you want me to put a star on it or take it off, keep it?
What do the stars mean?
Stars mean that you guys didn't come to agreement.
I mean, I think that's an example of
Leveraging
leveraging
local
resources. So
resources.
if we don't
Yeah.
need to have the specific item, I
Right.
mean, there could be like, I mean, I also think for future boards, looking at this stuff.
I mean,
Could be-
I could put it over here with leveraging community resources as a possibility that you
That's
guys
like
are
an
thinking about.
example of.
Yeah,
It's like one of those bullets Kim mentioned
Like
underneath.
a bullet, right,
Yeah.
so that it's like,
Kim, I think Kim put up there as a short-term goal would be to measure progress
Yeah,
towards the cap, towards achieving the climate action plan. I think
Yeah.
that could be a specific one.
over there.
Yeah,
yeah.
on environmental sustainability.
So just measure progress, however it is, and that Irving Institute is an example of one way that the progress can be measured.
Okay, yeah, okay. Prioritize resilience and adaptability.
I mean, I think that is something that's come up, you know, we have our climate action plan, we look at reducing greenhouse gas emissions or, carbon, blah, blah, blah. We look at the big picture stuff, but ultimately, like our biggest impact community-wide as a town is going to be on preparing our community to be adaptable and resilient to climate change. So just environmental sustainability, I think that is a primary goal.
With the nodding heads. Right? Look into where town money is stored for connections to fossil fuel and weapons.
I know who wrote that.
And it could be that, that we only have a checking account, but, my thought was, it's good to double check as you will. And, just because of the amount of money that's there, I imagine that we have cash, a few $1 million at a time. And so, what is that being used to do elsewhere in the world, essentially?
So that would be examining our own investments, if any, and those of our bank that we have the checking account with, is that becomes another larger project, right?
Sure. I mean, though I do think they are prepared to answer that.
Right, they probably have annual reports.
Do we have investments?
No, not that I know of. I think we just park money in checking accounts at
When
Mascoma
I think
Bank.
of this, it makes me think of like a college endowment,
Right.
right? And you're like, we don't want your endowment being invested in weapons manufacturers or in like
Divest.
Exxon, right?
Divest from
But
South Africa.
So I wonder what the applicability is to the town if we don't have them.
It certainly could be no applicability, but I felt like the question should be raised just to see.
Okay, Lanny?
One of the problems that I have with this is like, when you talk about like Caterpillar, okay? or Volvo or whatever we have for equipment at the town garage, okay? The military runs that same equipment. So when we buy a part from Volvo, are we contributing to the war effort? Or is that what you're trying to get at? Are we saying that by us buying a part from Volvo, we're actually putting money into Volvo's hands, which goes into the military side of things? I'm trying to understand.
This is a very big
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
We
I
could,
think
it's a
that's-
rabbit hole we could all go
Yeah.
down, so I think.
No, I
we
didn't
should
mention
put-
that, actually. I did not mention vendors at all. So,
Well, I mean, when you think about it though, who knows what
Is
the
this
money
something
either,
that folks want to keep on the list?
I think it is so aspirational that it's just gonna.
I think it could be an offline thing, like I don't think it's
Yeah,
part
I
of
think
this.
Dale can answer the
document.
question in writing in about 5 minutes.
It's such a, yeah,
Okay.
there's so much to it.
I
So
definitely
I'm
want to
hearing
support
that-
Brandon's like curiosity and sort of investigating this further, and I think we do need more information.
Long term.
But and if we find
Okay, so
out.
put it as
Well, it
a,
doesn't
a large
have to be on
investment.
either list. I thought I heard John say he thinks he can get an answer to most of his questions. So I'm gonna suggest we hand that sticky to John, who says,
I've
I'm gonna
already
make
got
a
it written
commitment
down.
to get an answer.
right, pass it
And
over.
then if we find out there is some problematic investing, that
Then
that
you
would
can
be.
re-add it to your list.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
All right, low to no interest loans for folks to switch their heating to heat pump using the town's credit.
So I wrote that, my thought is that, this is a $7,000 to $15,000 expense for most households. And, the only thing stopping them is access to credit to get it done. I mean, most of us realize that the return on investment for a heat pump system is like 2 to 5.5 years or something like this, depending on your. And so, it really makes sense for folks in town, and for those who can't make it happen with their own credit, the town might be able to help.
I mean, there's a revolving loan fund that could
There is.
potentially be opened up to use for that kind of thing, so it's.
I wonder if
It's
putting this
not-
under the
Residential loan
umbrella of prioritize
The
resilience
revolving
and
loan.
adaptability.
I mean,
Would work.
I don't know, it's worth exploring.
Yeah, I think it could go under Kim's.
An example
Yeah.
of something that you guys want to explore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Oh, more charging stations
Well, that's in progress, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah,
in
Yeah,
progress.
that's
yeah.
Is it something that you guys want to keep
I
on the
think,
list?
I think it's as part of the cap implementation and evolving to green energy.
Right,
I mean, we gotta have more charging stations.
All right, I
So
see, I
it's-
see heads nodding.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Functional infrastructure. Long term. Sidewalks, 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 sidewalks. Sidewalks?
Guess I mean sidewalks.
That's me.
Yeah.
More side,
No matter how
is
many
it more
sidewalks-
sidewalks? Is
It's
that,
more sidewalks, it's repaired sidewalks, it's basically, and no matter how many we tackle a year, there will still be more need. So I think it's just like, it's whatever reserves we can put toward sidewalk maintenance and.
I know Lori's got a long list of sidewalks and they're in priority, and it'll be about chasing down the money to get them done.
Yeah.
all right, well, I'm seeing nods. Sounds like something.
Yeah.
All right,
Rights Reservoir.
Rights
We
Reservoir.
have
Yeah.
to figure out what we're gonna do with Rights Reservoir. We keep kicking this can and keep kicking the can, and we gotta make a decision.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting, and I totally agree with Lanny, is that some of these things from 2019 specific goals are still things we have to
Yeah.
decide. Transfer station, rights
Right.
reservoir, cemeteries,
Cemeteries,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we just they need to stay on.
They-
That's why I put that, I mean, I put all those things up, all of them. Because
Okay.
those are things that we really need to.
Yeah, right, no, yeah, it's got them all.
FYI, everybody, while we research further Rights Reservoir, just know that VLCT has extended our coverage for another year.
Great, I heard you say that earlier, I didn't know what it was pertaining to.
All right, I see passenger rail for central, Upper Valley towns.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
You're talking about from Claremont all the way through, Newport all the way through, what are you talking about for?
I think the 4 central Upper Valley towns are Hartford, probably White River Junction, Norwich, Lebanon, and Hanover. Right, isn't that?
Yeah, it's just
so
a four.
four towns. So obviously this would be like really long term, but like I know there's a there's grant funding currently for transportation planning in the region. So,
That's a cool long-term goal.
I think it would just take you from White River to Norwich, so.
I mean,
That's a good place for rail.
we have advanced transit, which is like a pretty remarkable
Right.
local,
Yeah.
so I think I would love to continue our investment and commitment to the existing public transportation and maybe make it more accessible, more extensive, more usable. That seems like a more efficient way to tackle a similar issue than try to kind of, I love the dreaming big, but,
I like it.
A commitment to public transportation?
yeah, commitment to public transportation, maintenance and expansion and improvement for sure.
Especially where we have limited parking,
Yeah,
that should be alternative. made
Right,
available,
right.
When I look at something like a rail system, what I think a rail system should entail is like, we have people from St. Johnsbury that travel down to Dartmouth College every day to work.
They do.
So I'm thinking about like St. Johnsbury North, rapid rail coming down through and picking people up that advance outside of the advanced transit corridor. That would be my idea.
Also, probably
And
not something that municipality.
yeah, it's south like,
State.
yeah, it's south like Walpole, New Hampshire. You've got the thing is you have the rail structure there. So you're like 3/4 of the way there already because you have the rails.
Two Rivers would want to be an advocate for
Yeah.
the region
Yeah.
with Vermont Rail or whoever.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you have the infrastructure already there. Something to definitely expand upon.
All right, how about this one? Build relationships with private funders and work towards shared goals for town improvements.
Oh, I have a similar one. I'm gonna put it there.
Yeah, that was mine, and that was going off this, kind of rewording this number 26, seek private sources. I just think, just reframing it as like a relationship building goal. I think that's how like philanthropy efforts work best, and I'm sure there are people in town and to sort of begin the process, plant seeds for building those relationships, to say like, do you want to invest in Hartford and what matters to you, and how can we work together and find overlap between a town government goal and a private funder and get something done.
Like it.
And it kind of tweaks into this public-private partnership
Right.
discussion that Lori is.
Mine's over there. It's public-private partnership policy. So.
All right, with that sidewalk usage fee
Yes, that's one thing I want to talk about is,
for businesses?
right, we have a lot of businesses downtown that use our sidewalks. I've talked to John about this in the past. And they're using our infrastructure that we have to make money for their business, and we get nothing for that. It seems like we should institute a fee at least.
Did it begin as a COVID accommodation?
It did, and these businesses, face it, these businesses, you buy a business based on a location for the business, for the area that you want to have your business. If they wanted a bigger location, they should have bought something with a bigger location, but they're using our sidewalks to gain money for their business for free. Okay, I don't have a problem with them drawing people down to the downtown area for business, but I think we should charge a fee for the usage of the sidewalks. At $250 a year for a fee for sidewalks is nothing for sidewalk usage fee to make money out of it. It's minuscule considering the amount of money they make off of our infrastructure. We have to repair those sidewalks. We have to clean the sidewalks in the wintertime. If something happens to get chipped up or something like that, we have to fix them. We should get some money out of that. That's something I'm
So does the
adamant for.
concept stay on the strategic plan? I don't want to talk about whether you're gonna do it or not.
Yeah.
Does the concept stay on the strategic plan?
I think it like the investments.
I was
think
just
it-
thinking about thinking creatively about funding sources.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys want to keep?
Well, I put it up there because
Like more generally speaking, and then that specific topic is something.
I put it up
that could
because
just be-
sidewalks are an infrastructure thing. That's why I put it up there like that. So definitely something to look at.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, access infrastructure bill fund.
I mean, that's just a no-brainer. That's a way to
Sorry,
support
Mary
it.
Ann.
That's okay.
You.
No, you're fine.
And that's likely through our state representatives, representatives on
Oh,
Washington.
grant programs.
So is
come from that.
Program.
Is this something that's? on-
Yeah, that's cemetery commissioner has to be on.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
definitely
that's
something.
great, but the access infrastructure bill fund, is that something that?
I
you're
feel
keeping?
like some of those, same with the sidewalk thing, is like, we want to find a way to increase revenue that's not from
Taxpayers.
Yeah,
taxpayers.
That's true.
paying something.
Alternative funding sources.
Should
Yeah.
go under
Of
all
all
those, alternative,
All right,
alternative funding
I'm gonna put
sources.
all of these
together.
Did we mention impact? fees
Sidewalk use.
restoration?
Well, that's another one, right?
Yeah.
Those all fall in that bucket.
Private funders, yeah.
All right,
Look at my other one up there, Waver Junction. Okay, so there, I put downtown Waver Junction, parking for identification of housing parking needs. So we have a lot of housing downtown that is utilizing all the street parking,
I've heard
okay?
that from Heidi Detail.
Yeah, and the problem is that planning and development is not doing an adequate job of planning for all the parking needs that we're having in the town of Hartford. And we're using all of this parking that we have. It seems like if we have someplace like, who's the guy that built up the old Legion?
Matt Busey.
Matt Busey, he's utilizing all these parking spots in the town parking lot again, and we're getting nothing, and we're having to pay for all those lots. We're having to pay for all those spaces. We're paying for the infrastructure for the lighting. We're getting nothing from that. So this is, again, it's a planning thing for future planning. Where are these people gonna park? Okay, if we're gonna have them using all our town parking, they need to pay something for it, you know?
is this idea part of the concept of parking,
Parking, I think
identifying
it's definitely
additional
a
parking?
priority in our infrastructure.
Yeah, and the long-term parking that we have, I mean, I gotta be truthful. Heidi Duto complained to me about somebody running a business out of our parking downtown. You know, because we've got people with trailers in the South Main Street parking lot that are sitting there forever, and they're against the ordinance that we have for parking there. And somebody's actually running a business and using our land, town land, to store their equipment on, which is, in my opinion, not right, you know? They can't run a business
Seems like
like
some,
that.
yeah, like collaboration with the planning board around parking solutions.
And more enforcement.
Enforcement,
Yeah,
yeah, parking solutions.
and definitely has to be collaborative with planning, because they have control. over
And the
these
select board will have to enact an ordinance on
Right.
parking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay,
we're definitely, I mean, that's one of our biggest hassles we have is parking downtown. So we gotta be able to address some needs of it.
all right, CIP policy?
Capital.
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's hers.
I mean, it's basically, we do the capital improvement plan, which is massive investment the town is making on capital investments, and we don't have a policy about how we do it. And it's definitely recommended practice from the Vermont Bond Bank, so it's just something that the town has needed for a long time. And thank goodness we have new, like, stable leadership. It's something that's, I think, is long overdue.
I see a lot of nodding heads. All right, cemetery commissioner, I think that was a thumbs up. Transfer station, I think I heard that one talking about reservoir. Okay.
Address that one.
All right, stockpile of masks and hand sanitizer that we control. We, I think these are down. I'm trying to recognize. I can't read. So I'm trying to look, sorry.
Yeah, and it probably best goes, I didn't see these ones over here when I was writing, so
Yeah.
probably best goes under
Resilience.
resilience.
Yeah,
And again, I think that's being prepared for supply chain interruptions,
Right.
things like that. And that's a very specific.
Public health needs for preparation, is that something we
Put
don't have?
it over there.
Yeah,
I like
Long term,
more broad, general phrasing,
Okay.
that's more adaptable.
long term.
okay, all right. 2 to go, guys. We're doing great. Equitable opportunities. I see this one is both a long-term and short-term goal. Can we?
I think I voiced it also.
Okay.
Over here, but it was the same thing. It says, can we? No, I didn't voice this one, sorry. I've been thinking about this with other people, when we talk about affordable housing. And other than income-based, I didn't know if our affordable housing, if this is an issue, and maybe Sue knows the answer to this, of discrimination, can we keep this for Hartford residents or people who work in Hartford? Or is that, because I find that when sometimes college students end up in these places, and I'm going, really? You know, I just
Yeah, I
don't
think you can
know.
do that.
I know, and that was just something I thought about.
capitalist country.
Yeah.
Stuck with some
Yeah, so I was just wondering, we put out the money, we build these buildings, we try and help our own local. And then anybody can go, so,
You could see where that would go down and back.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean,
That
some
one
of
might
them are
need to
protected
stay off,
around
is
that,
yeah.
like the new development that, they partnership with the Haven, so some are reserved for people moving out of the Haven, some are reserved for veterans, so there's community partnerships to prioritize certain segments of our population in hopes that they're not all just stacked up by someone who can afford it real fast,
Right.
Yeah, right.
Is affordable housing though, something that you guys want to put up here?
I mean, yeah.
I think it fits in a lot of different.
It fits in a lot of buckets, yeah, but,
So we read it.
Yeah.
okay, I'll read another one. Modify RV ordinance to allow on private property. Yeah.
Here's the affordable
That
housing.
seems like a specific one that is important and maybe is part of affordable housing. Right? Or does it feel different?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's also like creative solutions
Yeah.
to
Housing
the housing
shortages.
crisis or
Right.
something like that. But I mean, this is an ongoing specific example.
Yeah, well, actually, there was one that we were, in our group, we were like rewording a little bit, because right now it's something about homeless, work towards an effective 0% homelessness, which kind of sounds like too aspirational to really be realistic or practical, especially since we're a community that, prioritizes and values services for housing insecure folks. So we were thinking maybe rewording it to be something about like work, commitment to addressing the root causes of homelessness. So affordable housing, and then, creative solutions for addressing the short-term needs of the population. I feel like both kind of fall.
To addressing root causes.
Root causes and short-term needs of, the homeless community.
How do people feel about that as a long-term goal?
It's imperative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see nodding heads. All right. Increase borrowable material, tools, camping gear, et cetera, at all local libraries. Help get a makerspace started in White River Junction.
Here's something if you
Oh,
want.
yeah, great.
Makerspace is awesome, but that's not really what you're doing on makerspace.
Thought there was some of that already at Railroad Row, some communal
like-
business space.
Yeah, there's some co-working spaces.
Right.
There's a few of those, but not really a makerspace.
You're in one
Okay.
of those, aren't you? Or you're in one of those co-working spaces.
No, I moved into 35.
Oh, right.
I was, what was that show, Moving On Up?
So in my mind, like lending libraries of tools and other one-time use goods at libraries. I mean, I've already started to talk to the folks who run this library and the one at Wilder, and they said, yeah, we have some of that available. We'd love to have more. And that just seems like a really great investment.
And Queechee has fishing rods and snowshoes, for example.
Nice, yeah.
See, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
And it'd be great, to have the communications director talk about, or ask for donations and stuff.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah,
a equipment.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm one of those people that like think
Yeah, you're
slower.
thinking-
And I guess this is probably more resilience, but I've always thought that the town should establish a mutual aid program, which we did, like during the pandemic, there was just a community response to mutual aid.
What do you mean by mutual aid? though?
What I mean, I'm talking about public safety. I'm talking about community members that volunteer. So-and-so needs help with getting to their doctor's appointment. So-and-so is available to help get someone to a
It's
doctor's
like a
appointment.
bulletin board almost.
Yeah, and we did it. We had Upper Valley response team. We established one during the pandemic. It was super effective. We were delivering hundreds of meals. We were picking up prescriptions for people. Like, it's a model that anyway, I'm gonna put this over at resilience. Does anyone object to that?
That seems related to other things we've talked about in terms of like neighborhood cohesiveness.
Yes.
And resilience on that level. And I think this one is great too. It does feel like one of the ones that are like a little bit specific, but like, I don't know how to phrase it more broadly, but continue to support infrastructure for a sharing economy, a resource kind of leveraging and sharing economy within
the town.
How about something like increasing free resources to residents of the town? I mean, that's really broad.
I know, I like broad things because you can do lots of different things, but I also think that sometimes specifics get lost in that, and the specifics that are really helpful end up not getting done sometimes.
But if we're gonna have the bullet points
Okay, have some little
underneath, then we
bullet
would have
points.
some bullet points
Sure,
there.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I think that.
All right, and I see workforce housing.
Yeah, I put that up there. One of the things that we always focus on is low income housing, and that's great, workers on low income housing. But we need to focus on workforce housing. Workforce housing is the number one thing that's lacking in Upper Valley. That means unfortunately higher rents. That means higher quality of apartments and stuff like that. But we need to be able to entice a developer to do a workforce housing project in the town of Hartford. Without saying that they need 28% of them for low income. I mean, I'm sorry, that's just, and as much as I like low income housing, we need to develop workforce housing. So.
And
That's
is
me
that
preferred.
something that's in equitable opportunities or functional infrastructure? That's another.
Well, that to me is equitable because the workforce housing people don't have that kind of housing available because we get snapped up by some of the lower, incomes people.
I think it was like affordable housing also, I mean, same idea, like we talk about the missing middle, right?
Yeah,
You know,
that's,
comes
yeah,
up a lot.
I don't know how else for free.
I mean, I think that's under the economy, that's under resilience, that's under equitable opportunities,
Yeah.
infrastructure, it's like all over the place, particularly even environmental sustainability, because as we see new projects that hopefully make it more affordable to live in Hartford, they have to meet all sorts of goals on emissions.
I would say it's more short term than anything else though, because we really, really have a lack of housing.
Well, isn't that what that one up on Sykes is gonna be? I mean, there would be two buildings and there was a
Yeah.
lot that was gonna be market.
Oh, workforce market
Yeah.
housing. Well,
Yeah,
that's fine.
And then they're very small.
May never happen.
Right,
Yeah. They
exactly.
didn't happen. So I think it's great to, again, maybe it's aspirational. Who knows?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Another way of saying afford, I mean, I think affordable can be relative, like,
Yeah.
but you
I use those,
Wanna
I
be
see
able
those
to-
terms used interchangeably.
Yeah.
It's, you're right,
Yeah.
you are right, but
Well,
Yeah.
one thing to consider is workforce housing is a legally defined term.
Mhm.
So workforce housing has a very specific meaning versus affordable housing.
okay.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we pay both.
sorry, yeah.
No, yeah, no, when
For
I think of.
and workforce, yeah.
When I think of workforce housing, and I actually don't know the defined term, but I would think of it as like if someone's making between $20 and $35 an hour and they're working full time, it's like, well, if you're 1/3 of that income is rents between $1,150 a month and $2,025. So that's a fairly middle income range.
And I do not remember the exact percentages, but that is how the definition of workforce housing works.
Yeah.
Person's making X number, pay this percentage, and it's a sliding scale depending on how much the person is making.
Sure.
And the federal government subsidizes the rest of the rent. So I'm only pointing that out because somebody is gonna point that out to you if they read your strategic plan and say, they're not the same thing.
I think that's why I put that up, because we're that term.
Yeah.
Used workforce.
I know this because I was on the planning board and we did one. That's what I know a lot about workforce housing. All right, let's go on.
Okay, strong and stable local economy. Local option tax.
Yeah, I think there are a couple.
There are a couple,
I put that
yeah.
one
It's a lot,
up
yeah.
there particularly, and it falls under the idea of increasing our revenues without the property tax being the source of it. And just for board members to think, I think John and I talked about this, I believe there was a law changed in Vermont, so we could adopt a local option tax without having to change the charter. This charter changes are onerous, they also require approval on both the town and school side, and frankly, the school has nothing to do with the local option tax, so we may have an easier sort of way to at least put it before the voters. And at the last election, it lost, but not by very much, and one of our select board members who did not come back, he basically changed his position to be against it, like at the last minute. That may cost, a dozen, 2 dozen votes. It didn't lose by very much. And it didn't get a whole lot of people out there really singing its praises. But I do think to get us on a better footing long-term, that's a good thing for us to do, because it's progressive, it doesn't include food, this includes things like that. I want to go buy a vape, cannabis, a book, a decorative belt buckle.
Mhm.
I choose to do that, I pay an extra penny on.
You're already paying at
Right.
least 6%,
Yeah.
so it just goes to 7. Anyway.
6 to 7.
In the.
How do people feel about that?
That's
Or is
fine.
this, I'm seeing nods.
Yeah.
I don't want a local option tax. However, I don't know how we're going to pay for things without one.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, I mean,
So
Don't
the
want to-
concept stays on the list,
Mhm.
at least as a, it's on the list. That doesn't mean, Lanny, you're gonna necessarily support it.
well, no, I'm gonna support it, because I don't see how to, I don't see how we can make it go of it without it, so.
Okay.
All right, collaborate with 4 Upper Valley towns toward an Upper Valley minimum wage.
There you, Brent.
That's me. Yeah, I don't see it working unless all the core towns of the Upper Valley are a part of it. But, it seems like there is an opportunity for local governments to create better protections for workers, workers on the lowest end.
Mike?
I'm in favor of ideas like this, but I think we have to recognize that our powers to regulate as a town are extremely circumscribed by the state. Like literally, they can tell us what we can do and what we can't. So when we talk about stuff about minimum wages, things that are like generally like the state's purview, there's not much we can do. We talked about this a little bit with housing, just cause eviction, that even be so like the state. They give us a couple things where they're like, you can have a rental register, you can, do this. But on a lot of stuff, it's like, if we want to get something like that, we're gonna have to think of a way to achieve it. That is not just us like passing an ordinance, because frankly, we don't have the authority to do so. So it's gonna take like some creativity and imagination to do that. And how the town incentivizes that, encourages that amongst citizens of like the 4 towns. That's something we can think about. But on some of these, sometimes it's like, we just can't, like, they just won't let us.
Sue?
If we can't, why would, if we're trying to draw business here, why would we even go out on that limb? Doesn't make any sense.
When you say go out on a limb, do you mean put it on a plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just talking about whether it goes on the plan.
yeah.
The reason I put it under strong and stable local economy is because there are all kinds of reports, like Dollar General corporate came out with a report recently that said their customers, the lowest income bracket, they do not have enough money to spend. Like all they can afford to spend on is food essentially, and like maybe a car if they need one. And so that's the group that this would be referencing. Like, I think we have a broken economy and it's most broke for these people. So to have an economy, we need to, yeah.
We just established that we can't do it, so why would we put it out there? That's what I'm saying. I don't even want us to be pushing that.
The state says we can't do it.
Yes, exactly.
That's different than we can't do it, frankly.
It's, no, I'm sorry, it's not different. If we don't have the power to do it, if you want to go to Montpelier and work on this issue, that's different. But if we are trying to get businesses to come here and we demonstrate that we're not willing to follow the rules of our own state, I don't think that helps our local economy. And it's not going to help the workers because we can't do it.
All right, we have a few more on this. I'm gonna put a pin in this one.
No,
Okay.
well, let's put a star on it,
A
like
star.
we have with other ones
Yeah.
that folks haven't agreed on.
Yep. All right. Public-private development policy, we talked about this a little bit. Seems like
And it's
Yeah.
something I think the planning department is actively
Yes.
working on
Yeah.
that, so it will be it will support a strong economy.
Speaking of that, just for a bullet point, like involving that, because I think if we had known in 2019 what we know now about the Coolidge block, it would be like bullet point number 1.
Mhm.
It's like future of the Coolidge block, because it's basically the downtown. And the person who owns it is looking to
Partner with the town.
partner with the town. You know,
I mean,
essentially divest himself of it, you know, and how he can do that in a way where he doesn't just sell it to someone, but he most and then moves to Florida. So if we do a bullet point on that particular one, I think that should be on very
I mean,
high on the list.
literally the consultants who are finalizing the economic development chapter of the town plan listed specifically that property as a strategy for the town. So anyway, it is,
We don't want to end up like Newport, but they literally have like a hole in the middle of their town.
Incorporate food trucks a little better.
This one?
No, like, did you go that one?
I haven't read this one yet. All right, I'm seeing lots of nods for this. Okay. Incentives for new business owners. Support associates, C and SB.
Business associates.
Okay, business associates. Select board.
I didn't make that up. Sue?
But it's not readable.
It's cursive, so
I can
Yours, you say?
I don't know.
Incentivize new businesses.
I don't know what C and SB, I don't know, SB, I know SB. is, but I don't
Incentives
see
for
it.
new business owners, support business associates and associations. I don't know what the last line is.
That's what I couldn't-
Something attendance.
I got the first part, but I couldn't get the last part, so, okay. I'm with you on
I
that,
like computers, just type and then you can read what.
I'm with you on that.
One thing I think Kim mentioned that might be worth just noting or maybe supporting more is the Downtown Business Association has sort of been revitalized with some of the functions there.
it's in.
The saddest meetings I ever went to at the beginning, but no, it's David.
Hopefully it's,
Yeah, well, we just are rebooting it now, so, and it's been quite robust.
It'll be on the list.
Yeah.
Is this a yes?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah, in
As
the,
far
like,
as we understand what it says.
the DBA, the Downtown Business Association that's being reconstituted right now, we just signed a memorandum of understanding with the Chamber of Commerce, like it's being developed, just the White River Junction Village, not all the villages, but it's super beneficial with the economy because it allows the planning commission to qualify for funds for things like beautification, things like that, like just the establishment, the existence of a DBA is beneficial to the town at large. Like it's, the goals of the DBA are not specifically rooted in, the town, but they're a direct link to the benefits. Does that make sense? Like the town of Hartford will qualify for certain funding mechanisms because we have an active DBA now.
nice.
Okay, so I put business manufacturing. So one of the things we have across the river from us is there's at least 6 companies over there that are manufacturing businesses. We need to attract that type of business to Hartford.
I
You know.
see my note, it's the same thing, market to developers, including housing, business,
Yeah,
industry.
but I mean specifically to manufacturing, because we have a ton of manufacturing over there. There's no reason why they can't set up shop in the town of Hartford. And we need to do something to be able to
Income tax. That's what I
incentivize
would do.
that.
Yes,
Because that kind of business, those kind of businesses are money makers for the town because they're just basically a big building that is, people come and they leave, which is a huge plus.
And that's, wait, so with the town branding marketing plan, that's still part of the old strategic vision that I think we need. It's not just marketing to residents to come to the town, it's marketing to business
Yeah.
and developers
We
to also
need
come to.
sell.
Because you can't attract more residents until you have places for them to live and places for them to work. And Hartford doesn't really have industry. I mean, we have
Right,
the
we
the
don't, yeah.
healthcare.
But there are
system.
places and there are also places that Two Rivers will not allow for expansion of one thing, but they will allow for manufacturing.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of places that I think. we
Can I
need
put
to do.
these two together?
I think, I agree with that. I agree, yeah.
And do people generally?
I'd love to see more manufacturing. I think for a number of reasons, it's just never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Might be.
Well, you don't say that, yeah.
And even with the fiber and high-speed technology, there might be other kind of industries that are
Yeah.
potential,
In Lebanon's got this big mega conglomerate
Yeah.
lock on it.
but they don't have income tax and.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the problem, so, yeah.
You'd be kind of amazed how much manufacturing can get done with only a group of 15 or 20 people.
It can be a small business, yeah.
Yeah, just
And
small
do we
business.
feel like the incentivized businesses goes within that? It's like market to developers and incentivize, I don't know, I feel like
Yeah, I.
that's sort
All
of.
of these ideas,
Yeah.
kind of group them
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Business, business, business. That's the key.
yeah, support business growth, yeah.
All right, I see this one, incorporate food trucks, diverse into town festivities like block party. And
It's quite specific.
here
but
it
yeah.
could be, there are other spots.
Those
it
who
could
sound
go.
engaged and welcoming community.
Yeah, engage,
Well, yeah, engaged and welcoming. Goes with that block party idea, yeah.
Keep going, yeah.
I personally would look.
All right. Protocol for public-private partnerships, structure.
They've got more better.
Okay, this one, it seems like we are a yes on, right? Public-private partnership. Okay, great.
You had us going at.
I think it's, she just.
I know.
That's what generated that.
All right, last one?
All right, last one. Oh, and we already sort of talked about it. We should prioritize priorities, or we should brainstorm priorities for the Coolidge block. Right, what would benefit the town most?
That's
Part of. We sort of put the,
Yeah, public-private partnerships.
Public-private
So I underlined
Yeah.
the statement was, we should brainstorm ideas for the Coolidge block.
We,
Select
meaning
board
what-
should.
meaning,
Meaning the board, meaning the town, the board puts it to the town, whatever it is. What would benefit the town most?
I think that conversation will happen, facilitated by Lori's policy about how the town should
Yeah.
interact with a private developer.
And in the economic development chapter, it's specifically addresses what the town, like the best uses of anything in the town. Like what kinds of things make each village more appealing, it talks about West Hartford needs a general store. It talks about, like what are the things that would benefit downtown White River Junction in terms of new commercial entities, so.
No.
I need on that too.
Which
The 30th is the next meeting. Economic development.
Chapter.
Chapter of town plan.
David's idea of having, like an indoor mall kind of thing on the first floor, I think is awesome.
It's
You know?
just gotta find the developer who actually wants to do.
All
what
right.
he wants to
Yeah.
do.
That's,
We all know.
that is detail we're not getting to
Yeah.
today. So we have a little bit less than an hour left. We will not do all the things that we had hoped we would get to today.
Sorry.
So we're gonna give you, we got two big buckets that we were hoping to accomplish. One is to prioritize these. And the second one is to decide, are they select board responsibilities or town manager responsibilities? And town manager, we're using as the umbrella for town manager and town staff. Which one would you all like to accomplish in the next
The second.
45 minutes?
would be
Deciding
nice. I mean, because the prioritizing of them,
happens as, it's a little bit more gestalt. It
they're kind of
happens
just
as
in
you.
those sections. and-
Okay,
Like, right, if we have the sort of more grouping as more so than this list, that would be more like as instead of like a 1 to 40. I would love to have what we've been talking about as like headers with
Yeah.
more specifics underneath, and then the prioritization kind of happens over time, like you shift priorities as you shift.
and that's all gonna fall to you guys. You're gonna get a list and in a Word document, it's not gonna look like that, I can promise you.
Yeah.
And
As long as there's headers
and
and
you
then,
can
yeah,
move stuff around in whatever
Yeah.
way you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like the best use of time, at least the two of you think, is to decide whose responsibility is this. Did I get that right? Or John's nodding as well. So we could do it as a big group. That I'm gonna suggest to you means we have lots more conversation. I'm inclined to, since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 8, to put you back in the small groups you were in, give each of you 4 of these sheets, have you go through them, and then we can you'll at least have a start for a conversation after this afternoon
Of who's responsible.
of who's
for-
responsible, correct? Does that make sense?
So we could potentially just like take one sheet over here,
Yep,
right? SB, TM.
Right.
yep, and what I
Yeah.
thought I'd do is take strong and stable, equitable opportunities, and those two, because they're too short and too long.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna give the other group those 4.
And if it's something that is that, like, if it's a planning department thing, should we still just say town manager or do we say staff?
Well, I think the more, if you have the time
Yeah.
to be more clear where, because I think one of the things I've heard is, don't just dump everything to Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
We need to be really clear about how we're sort of managing. I heard you say, we've got we're looking at whether we need to add, a different
Right.
staff
And
person
we've got to be careful in the sense that generally it's the town manager that
decide.
determines
Yeah.
who's gonna do what among his staff, rather than the select board appointing board for specific. select
Correct, which is
members.
why we may want to keep it broad and say, okay, that goes to
Like
town
PM
manager.
slash staff or something
Right,
like
or
that.
just TM and then your town manager decides, does it go to this department, or this department? Okay, so, yes,
Just a short amendment. I know that we're not, it's not our role to decide who gets to do the work, but I feel like we could still have those conversations and understanding that it's John's call who does it, but I feel like John welcomes our input in terms of like, well, if someone has the history to know this committee used to do this, maybe we can ask them if they want to do it again.
Sure, I appreciate that, as long as it's not an
Yeah.
unshakable mandate. that
No,
has
no,
to be
yeah.
this way.
and one of the things to think about is your strategic plan is going to also be a public document. And so you may have some town person who said, well, I saw in the strategic plan, it was gonna be Parks and Rec, so I don't understand why it isn't Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so you remember your groups? So I'm gonna give this end of the table, those two, and these two. And I'm gonna give that end of the table, the two over there, and the two behind Brandon and the one here. All right,
Take this
Yeah,
one
yeah,
first.
got it.
and you're gonna have about 40 to us.
That's okay.
Can we write on this paper? So
That's what I would do, we're gonna take, so that, and actually.
Deciding like who-
So it's one order comment for each of the, yes. For allocating it.
And I was thinking. I'm not gonna be able to
Okay.
do these,
They're
that's not
ready.
gonna happen.
We're done.
All right. So reading the room. I think you guys have had a long and productive afternoon and you're ready to go do something else.
Wait, are we gonna finish early?
Yeah.
Apparently they got a lot more in.
So here are next steps. I don't think it makes sense to do the other activity we had thought about. So the next thing you're gonna get is a word list. Big category, long and short term, with categories and bullet points. You all are gonna need to take that, look at it, probably do a little bit of refining. We can talk about whether or not you want us to get on a Zoom with you for an hour to help have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
What we could also do is we could send you a Survey Monkey with a list and you could prioritize each of them and we could take all of your results and put them together and give you a list. So then you'll say, okay, 3 of us rank this, 3 of us said take this out, 4 of us said leave this, and that might be a helpful document. You can think about whether that is something you would like from us.
Okay.
And then you guys can, if you want to, send it to us and we can make some nice formatting. It will not look like that. That is not our expertise. You might have somebody on staff who can do more formatting and making it look pretty.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I do think, honestly, just because like having more specificity, like a Survey Monkey, I think would allow us to all communicate equitably and, even if there's some discussion around it, like starting with the Survey Monkey results, I think that would be useful if you're willing
Yep.
to do that.
Yep.
Anyone disagree?
I just want to ask, did you find it useful as a board to have the ranking? Because where my brain is at is what's most useful to me is the concrete headers with the more specifics underneath it, as we've been talking about. This is, I don't know if I would find it useful to be oh, well, this is above this. So we're did you really go back to that?
No.
And then this feels a little bit too much
General.
fluffery, so something in the middle of these where it's yes, we're grouping into priorities and categories, but that specific place in the ranking, I don't know if we need to put ton of energy into that personally.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to have, I do think there's general and then there's
Yeah,
hyper
more like
specific.
this, yeah.
On some of those, I think clearly like on some, you're gonna put like Coolidge Block, the first bullet point, right? And I think it's just naturally, like, they'll come to the top, but there's no like official ranking,
Right.
you know, of which one's more important than the others. I think it's important to just get them all out there, things that we want to concentrate on. And it's helpful, I think, also to realize, which I think we realized in this exercise, is that we have these buckets, but they're like all connected.
Mhm.
A lot of the times there's like interconnections between them, and it's not like one's in one and that's it, right? Like, so that's very helpful.
And if I heard correctly, you have a communications director in town.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna suggest to you is that we can give you the data, and then you may want to work with your communications director in terms of how do you want to create that more general document?
Yeah.
And how does it match the other communication that's coming out of town hall?
Absolutely. You can do like an info night, roll it out.
Great.
I will say, just to praise you guys, like every time you've had an event, I've gone in and I've come out of it thinking like that went like 100 times better. It was more useful than I possibly thought it could have been, so I appreciate that. I will say though, on the agenda, I saw the icebreaker. I remember our last icebreaker was who would you like to have a conversation with,
Right.
living or dead?
Yeah.
So I actually spent like a few days thinking about it. And then I come in and you ask me my favorite place.
Yeah. Well, we did the icebreaker, we knew we'd already done
I
it.
know, I really like that one. The
Yeah.
first time I said Kurt Cobain. This time I was thinking John Keats, but I ended up with Auguste Escoffier, the French chef. Because he would give me cooking lessons.
There you go. All right.
I do have a question for you guys though, okay? Working with this current board compared to our last board.
We have no comment.
Are we easier?
Here's what I'm gonna say. This was an incredibly productive afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? It felt to us like you were all digging in and doing the work and listening to each other in a way that is different than the very first time we came to work with you.
Thank you.
Great.
So, awesome.
All right, I called this meeting to order. Do I have to include
Adjourn
it?
it? Probably do.
All right, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Yeah, so moved by Mary, we have a second.
Second.
Second from Sue. All those in favor say aye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
24 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.
Uh,